redeem us, the Lord God, redeem us, the Lord God, redeem us, the Lord God, redeem us.
Slavery, all these nations hating me. Slavery, all these nations hating me. For the coffee and they rice and they beans. Sugar plantation and they cutting off my seams. Wicked white man, French man chasing green. Supply the whole earth and they stole it from my dreams. Words can't explain all these atrocities, but we fit the curse in Deuteronomy. The Bible talks about a hidden and lost sheep, scattered across the earth and scattered across the seas, put on slave ships and sold into enemies. Look up a history book, it's talking about me. We the chosen ones, the Bible is history. This the mystery that's hidden in prophecy. Right in the book they told us not to read. Truth coming out, the truth will set you free. Don't forget your roots, you are the chosen seed. The prophets coming nigh, the prophets is about to teach. Holy righteous kings and holy and righteous priests. Angels in the sky, they coming with Christ the King.
The Lord God.
Haiti was the first free black country.
Redeem us.
Go ahead.
Haiti paid France $21 billion to preserve its independence.
So Haiti freed themselves by way of insurrection, rebellion as Esau calls it. I call it freedom fighting, right? And they charged them. They said, you freed yourself, but now you gotta pay us.
Slavery, all these nations hating me. Slavery, all these nations hating me. Just like Noah cry aloud, this right here is going down, but no water's coming down, flaming fire burning down. Hated of all nations, the saints patiently waiting. The synagogue of Satan was paying for all the slave ships. Better get up out my face quick, you racist bastards amazing. Columbus discovered Nathan, placed us in plantations, castrated and degraded, forced us to worship Satan. We ain't taking it no more, machetes up in the basement. Spirit of Dessalines, spirit of Dutty Bookman, spirit of Levi, revolution, yeah we get 'em.
Haiti's chronic status as the Western Hemisphere's poorest nation is due to a litany of afflictions that range from widespread illiteracy to endemic corruption to woefully inadequate infrastructure.
All caused by the French. Okay, go ahead.
But while these would be hard enough for any country to overcome, for more than a century of its existence, Haiti carried but little-known millstone, the effects of which are still being felt. In 1825, barely 2 decades after winning its independence against all odds, Haiti was forced to begin paying enormous reparations.
That is madness. They was forced to pay reparations for their own freedom. That's crazy. Go ahead.
To the French slaveholders it had overthrown. Those payments would have been a staggering burden for any fledgling nation. But Haiti wasn't just any fledgling nation. It was a republic formed and led by blacks who'd risen up against the institution of slavery. As such, Haiti's independence was viewed as a threat by all slave-owning countries.
Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear the audio. If everything is clear, put a 1 in the chat if you can hear the audio and everything is clear. Hope you're doing well. Shalom to you. Thank you, Sister Zipporah. Thank you, Fat Slim. We're going to play a couple of songs real quick, and then we'll get right into the lesson. Share the room with at least 10 people. Let's tap the screen to get the likes up, please. Shalom.
Wild are dipping the blood of the grapes. The blood of the grapes, apparel is full of the blood to the horse's face. The enemies plotting in vain, waiting the judgment day. There shall be weeping and gnashing in that bloody day. Avenge me of the heathen that shall snow with bait. That chariot's full of fame, angels, thunder, rain. Trumpets sound like Latin, flashing and ready to rain. The wicked be ash, stubble under all our feet. Wherefore art thou full of joy, Zion reigns. Blackest night, turn the light, everlasting King. Black Messiah, full of wrath for the evil day. That shall melt with fervent heat and eternal flame. Then we'll see our enemies burning in eternal pain. Same enemies that drag us with them feathers and the chains. Ladder rain pouring out like a flood. Yup, again, rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Fallen, never to rise again. Fallen, never to rise again. Rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Fallen, never to rise again. Fallen, never to rise again. Fallen, never to rise again. Rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Babylon fallen. Babylon fallen.
Babylon fallen and come down. Babylon fallen and come down. Babylon fallen and come down. Say Babylon fallen and come down. Babylon coming and fall down. Babylon coming and fall down. Babylon coming, Babylon coming, Babylon coming and fall down.
Judgment coming like a rent check. These wicked heathen, they got next. They think they blessed, but they live in stress. Christ come back, chopping off their neck. Course of sin, it is death. They off the boat, but we on the deck like a spades game. We got the deck. Our kingdom coming like a blank check. Too late for y'all to flex. Muscle scriptures like a bench press. Sending prayers like incense. Lord, hear me, the heathen dead. Revelation in 13:10. Isaiah 14, yeah. Revelation in 13:10. Isaiah 14, chill.
Babylon fallen and come down. Babylon fallen and come down. Babylon fallen and come down. Say Babylon fallen and come down. Babylon coming and fall down. Babylon coming and fall down. Babylon coming, Babylon coming, Babylon coming and fall down.
Mr. Real Babylon is what my eyes refuse to see. It's like a Venus flytrap, beautiful, but only trying to eat. The truth will make you free. A nationality of robbery. You lied to all my fathers. Why the hell would you not lie to me? Israelites are who my people are and who you try to be. I'm not gonna shake your hand, cause if you could, you would be buying me. Come out of her, my people, her destruction terrifying me. Revelation 18 for the Israelites, he's specifying thee. You claim to be the Israelites, which means you are denying me. You trying me, the curses were you frying and they're dying me. Not a traitor, won't no bribery, you can't confide in me. Of all my people, hell is promised to at least 2 out of 3.
I can prepare for temptation, but he don't can't prepare for fire. You can run, but tell me, who's gonna hide you? Repent or die, repent right now. That's what I would advise you. Enemies found liars, pastors still preach for hire. More fire, war fire, war fire, more fire. Ghost rider, no hands, penalize the drunk driver. Nation drunk in her winery, sober up, that's enough. Come up out of her, my people. This is Gomorrah, the sequel. Spiritual Sodom in Egypt. Look at all these dead bodies. Lay at the head of the road. Losing the kingdom from selling their soul. Keeping the laws all on my toes. Transform, not conform. I see Babylon in bonds. Ain't nowhere to run or turn.
Babylon fallen and come down. Alright, y'all. Is the audio clear for you to hear? Is the audio clear? Shalom, shalom. Is the audio clear for everyone to hear? Put a 1 in the chat if the audio is clear. If the audio is clear, please place a 1 in the chat. Alright, thank you, Fat Slim. Alright, let's get into the discussion real quick. For those of you that are not familiar, my name is Afia Levi. I'm the host of The Forefront Radio. The Forefront Radio started in 2020 as a podcast dedicated to the diaspora. We teach Black history according to the Bible, and we teach current events and different things of that nature. So we're going to have a quick study. I was planning on doing this on my Discord channel, but after talking with my spouse, I decided to host it online for people that were interested in this particular topic. So if you would, please share the room with at least 10 people. And let's make sure that we share it with people that are like-minded, that are actually interested in the content, okay? If they're not interested in the content, there's no point in sharing with them, right? Make sure you share it with somebody that's actually interested in the content, okay? All right, so we're going to get into a study about the importance of studying the Bible, and then we're going to talk about the plagues of Egypt, okay? We're going to talk about the importance of studying the Bible first, and then we're going to go into the plagues of Egypt, okay? What is the Passover date? For me, I'm celebrating the Passover actually April the 8th through the 14th. That's when I'm celebrating. We do it based on the full moon being the new moon, and then we calculate 14 days from the first month. So 14 days at the beginning of the month starts the end of March, which is March 25th. So the 14 days from that would bring us up to April the 8th. Okay. All right, so let's get right into it, y'all. Why is it important to study the Bible? But before we do, let's read a text of scripture in regards to asking the Most High to have mercy upon us and to deliver the children of Israel and to have divine retribution on those that are wicked on the earth. Sirach chapter 36, verse 1, it says, "Have mercy upon us, O God, O Lord God of all, and behold us, and send thy fear upon all the nations that seek not after thee. Lift up thy hand against the strange nations, and let them see thy power." Shalom to you, Ron Sinet. Hope you're doing well. It says, "As thou wast sanctified in us before them, so be thou magnified among them before us. And let them know thee as we have known thee, that there is no God but only thou, O God." So the way the children of Israel knew the Most High was when he delivered them out of Egypt. So we're going to read about that. It says, "Show new signs and make other strange wonders. Glorify thy right hand and thy right arm, that they may set forth thy wondrous works. Raise up indignation and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary and destroy the enemy. Make the time short. Remember the covenant and let them declare thy wonderful works. Let him that escapes be consumed by the rage of the fire, and let them perish that oppress the people. Smite in sun of the heads of the rulers of the heathen, that say there is none other but we. Gather all the tribes of Jacob together, and inherit thou them as from the beginning. O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. O be merciful unto Jerusalem, thy holy city, and the place of thy rest. Fill Zion with thine unspeakable oracles, and thy people with thy glory. Give testimony unto those that thou hast possessed from the beginning, and raised up prophets that have been in thy name. Reward them that wait for thee, and let thy prophets be found faithful. O Lord, hear the prayer of thy servants according to the blessing of Aaron over thy people, that all they which dwell upon the earth may know that thou art the Lord, the eternal God." So I pray Yahweh has blessed you with this prayer that's in the book of Sirach, chapter 36, verse 1, all the way down to verse 17. Very insightful prayer, very important prayer in these last days for us to have, okay? All right, so we're going to get into this discussion here on TikTok. For those that are on Discord, please invite them to come on TikTok so we can have this discussion solely on TikTok, okay? Unfortunately, I don't have enough bandwidth to handle and sustain both TikTok and Discord, so we're just going to do the study for now on TikTok, okay? All right, do me a favor also, tap the screen to get the likes up and share the room to at least 10 people. So we're going to touch on first why it's important to study the Bible, and then we're going to talk about Christ being the Passover, and then we're going to talk about the plagues of Egypt. Got a lot of information to cover, y'all, so bear with me. Make sure while we do this study that you have a pen, paper, okay? Make sure you're writing this information down. We're going to go into a lot of history. Okay, we're going to go into a lot of history. If the audio is clear, make sure you put a 1 in the chat. Can everybody hear? If the audio is not clear, put a 2 in the chat. I just want to make sure everybody is able to hear with no issues. Okay, if I someone put 1. Okay, thank goodness. All right, so the first text we're going to go to is Proverbs. We're going to go to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 28. Make sure you have a pen and paper. Make sure you're writing these precepts down. We're going to go over a lot of scripture, and we're going to go over a lot of current events and a lot of history. So make sure you have a pen and paper to jot this stuff down. We're going to go through a comprehensive lesson on the plagues of Egypt, and we're going to parallel it. So we're first going to touch on why it's important to study the Bible. So let's go to Proverbs. And moderators, if you can't, oh, thank you. She already beat me to the punch. Make sure you put the scriptures in the chat. So we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 28. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Proverbs 15, verse 28. And it reads, "The heart of the righteous studies to answer. The heart of the righteous studies to answer. But the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things." We have to understand this as it relates to walking in righteousness. When we walk in the ways of the Most High and keep His commandments, we study the Bible for the purposes of being able to give an answer. So when somebody asks you a question, you want to be able to go to a Bible verse to answer the question. It says, "The heart of the righteous studies to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things." Meaning, if a person is full of evil, all that will come out of their mouth is evil. Okay? They won't speak about things that will help people to get themselves right with the Creator. They'll just talk about evil things. Okay? From there, let's go to another precept. Let's go to the book of 2 Timothy in the New Testament, chapter 2, verse 15. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. You know, we're living in the last days, folks, where a lot of people are disinterested in reading the Bible, but it's important, especially on these social media platforms, for us to study and to share the scriptures and to encourage one another to study, because we're living in tumultuous times. It's so bad out here, folks. I hear people say that the New Testament is idolatry. That's how crazy folks are right now. Okay, it says study to show thyself approved unto God. So we don't study the Bible to vaunt ourselves or exalt ourselves to people. We study the Bible to be approved by the Creator of all things. It says, "A workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." Rightly dividing the word of truth, meaning correctly disseminating information via precept to precept, line to line, correctly breaking down the scriptures through precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. That's how you rightly divide the Bible. You can't just read the Bible as a novel. Deeper secrets that are in the scriptures can be found when you study by cross-referencing. Okay? Watch this. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 28, verse 9. I encourage all the viewers to make sure you're sharing a live with at least 10 people, so that way we can join in this discussion. We're going to talk about how to study the Bible. Then we're going to talk about Christ being the Passover. Then we're going to talk about the 10 plagues of Egypt. Okay? Isaiah 28, verse 9, it says, "Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine?" So we're asking questions now in the scriptures, and the answers are going to be given in the scriptures. It says, "Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast." Meaning what? Just like a baby takes milk from its mother, is the same way we take the scriptures as milk, little by little, to gain understanding of deep mysteries. Verse 10, "For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little." So we take the Bible little by little. One precept or cross-reference in the Old Testament and another cross-reference in the New Testament. One cross-reference in the Apocrypha and another cross-reference in the New Testament. This is how you understand the Bible. This is how you gain an understanding of God's laws, statutes, and commandments, and the testimony of the Messiah. Okay? So, who shall he teach knowledge? Those that are sincerely desiring to understand doctrine. Okay? So let's go to, real quick, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments," meaning laws, "and penalties for breaking the laws, even as the Lord my God commanded me." So just in the same way, Moses went to talk to the Messiah on the mountain. He was talking to Yahweh, which was the Messiah. People don't realize that. "The Lord my God commanded me that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it." Meaning, when he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights, he was interacting with the creator of all things on Mount Sinai. God did not give us religion. Let me say it again. God did not give us religion. He gave us laws, statutes, judgments, commandments. That's what he gave our people. Verse 6. "Keep therefore and do them." What does the Bible say? Keep therefore and do them. "For this is your wisdom, and understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes, and say, surely this great nation," notice it doesn't say religion, "surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." So that's who the Bible was talking to. We as a nation of people were established to gain wisdom and understanding in the sight of all the nations. So all the nations would look to us and say, these groups of individuals are the sons and daughters of God. For what nation is there so great, who has God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to yourselves and keep your soul diligently. That's why it's very important for us to study the Bible, because the Bible is going to give us guidance on how we are going to conduct ourselves. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, folks, I want you to put a 1 in the chat if this makes sense. If this makes sense, folks, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. All praises to the Most High. All praises. All right. All right. So from there, let's go to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 16. We're going to go to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 16. Proverbs 16, verse 16 says this: "How much better is it to gain wisdom than gold?" Wait a minute. How much better is it to gain wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? So we see, based on the Bible, that the Bible tells us that wisdom from God's laws is better than riches, better than gold, better than silver, better than bauxite. Shalom to you, Sister Elizabeth. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Wisdom, which is keeping the commandments of the Creator, is better than gold. And understanding of God's laws is rather to be chosen than silver. Okay, let's go from there. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 23, verse 23. We're going to go to Proverbs chapter 23, verse 23. Watch this. It says, buy the truth, and sell it not. Also wisdom, and instruction and understanding. Y'all see that? Buy the truth, meaning no matter what you do in this world, it's more important for you to understand the laws of the Creator and His truth. So what is the truth? Let's find out. We're going to go to Psalms chapter 119, verse 142. We're going to go to Psalms chapter 119, verse 142. Make sure you all are writing these scriptures down. Make sure you have a pen and paper to jot these down so you can go back and reference these passages when the live is over. All right? So Psalm chapter 119 verse 142 says this: Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. So according to the Bible, the laws of the Creator is the truth. Let's go to another one in the New Testament to verify and rightly divide the word of truth. Let's go to John chapter 17, verse 17. The book of John chapter 17, verse 17. Listen close. It says, Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. You see that? So it's very easy for us to understand once we start to cross-reference different passages in the Bible to understand the importance of truth. What is truth? The truth of the matter, folks, is that we are the lost tribes of Israel. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the people group that God gave the laws to. Blessings if you kept the laws of God, and generational curses if you broke the laws of God. Here's the proof of that. Moses was compared to a black Egyptian. Once again, I'm going to say it again. Moses was compared to a black Egyptian. Let's find out based on the Bible. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 4. We're going to read verse 6 and verse 7. Exodus chapter 4, we're going to read verse 6. We're going to read 6 to 8. Let's read 6 to 8. Exodus chapter 4, verse 6 to 8. If you're following along in your Bibles, make sure you have a King James Version Bible. That's the version we're reading from. We're reading Exodus chapter 4, verse 6 through 8. It says, And the Lord said, furthermore unto him, Put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. So, Moses put his hand to his chest. Okay? When he took his hand out of his coat area, his hand turned leprous as snow. Okay? So we all know what the color of snow is. And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it turned again as his other flesh. So the miracle was that when Moses put his hand on his chest and pulled it out, it turned to the color of snow. So now, let's use our reasoning skills here. It came to pass, if they would not believe, neither hearken to the voice of the first sign, that they would believe the voice of the latter sign. This was a sign showing you the miracle of Moses being dark-skinned like an Egyptian to having his hand turning leprous as snow. So common sense would indicate if Moses came from the descendants of Rome and Greece, their complexion is already leprous as snow, you see? So Moses, who was compared to a black Egyptian, his skin tone of his hand changed color. That's what the miracle was. It went from a melanated person to becoming leprous as snow, That's the miracle. So, when you watch movies on the internet like The 10 Commandments with Charleston Heston, when you watch movies on the internet like the new movie that's on Netflix about the testimony of Moses, they never give you the proper, accurate description that Moses looked like a black Egyptian. They never give you that. This is why the Bible says you're going to know the truth, and the truth is going to make you free. Let's go to another text. Let's go to Numbers chapter 12. We're going to read verse 1 down to 12. Numbers chapter 12. Okay. We're going to read verse 1 down to 12. It says, "And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married." So we see Moses had interdealings with a Cushitic woman, meaning out of the 12 tribes of Israel, there was a mixture of people groups that mixed with the bloodline in Africa. Okay? So we have out of the 12 tribes of Israel, Moses, who was a leader of the 12 tribes that brought them out of slavery in Egypt, which is in Africa. He was married to a Cushitic woman, an Ethiopian woman. Verse 2, "And they said, Has the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Has he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek," meaning humble, "above all the men which were upon the face of the earth." Verse 4, "And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam, Come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And the three came out." So this is like, what perfect example I can give it. You have three children. They all do something, right? And the father calls forth the children and say, "I need all of you three individuals to come and speak with me right now." So you know when you were a kid and you did something disruptive and you try to blame it on your spouse, they say, "Oh, you're in trouble." This is what happening right now with Moses, Miriam, and Aaron, okay? Verse 6, "And he said, hear now my words, if there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream." So when God interacts with his people, correct, sibling rivalry. When God interacts with his people, he reveals himself through visions and dreams, okay? But it's different with Moses. Watch this. Verse 7. "My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house." So out of everybody during that time period, Moses was the most faithful out of all the family of God. Okay? Verse 8. "With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches." Meaning what? When the Most High speaks to us, normal folk, out of the children of Israel, he speaks to us in dark parables, dark speeches, giving us dreams, and we have to pray to him and ask him to help us figure it out. Okay? But with Moses, he speaks directly, mouth to mouth. Okay? It says, "And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then," listen to this, "wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" Wow. The same parallels go to many of the Gentilic nations that speak against the real 12 tribes of Israel that are going around and teaching the people to come back to God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Why are the Gentiles not afraid to speak against the servants of the Lord? They should be deathly afraid to speak against the servants of the Lord. Watch this. Numbers chapter 12, verse 9. "And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle. And behold, Miriam became leprous as snow." Leprous as snow. "And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous." So now Miriam is looking at her, and he's shocked. He's like, "Oh my God, what is going on here? My sister was a black woman. Now all of a sudden, her skin tone has changed to become as snow." So now he's freaking out. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing well. Then he claims out, he says, "And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned." This is why it's very important, folks, to watch the statements that you make in regards to the children of God. Watch the statements that you make. Be very mindful of your words. What did Aaron say? He said, let her be not as one deleted, or one of the flesh, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he comes out of his mother's womb. You see that? So how did God respond to the rebelliousness of this individual? And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. And the Lord said unto Moses, if her father but had spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. So what ended up happening? Miriam was set out of the camp, out of the temple area, just like she was treated just like a heathen person. You understand? You read about that in the book of Revelation. Okay, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. So let's go to another parable. Let's go to now. So now, we just found out that Moses was compared to a black Egyptian. We just found out that he had married an Ethiopian woman. We just found out that Miriam also was a melanated person, because the curse was that her skin tone became leprous as snow. So after the 7 days, that leprosy went away. So now what we're going to do now, we're going to look at other examples of people in the Bible that were direct teachers, disciples of Christ, and we're going to discover that they're also melanated people, which is why we're going over this history and why it's very important for us to study the Bible. Let's go to Acts chapter 13. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, now therefore, this is Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Do me a favor, y'all. We got 65 people in the room. Let's get the likes up to at least 6K. Share the room with at least 10 people. Tap the screen and get the likes up, please. It says, now there were in the church, listen to this, in the church that was at Antioch, certain prophets and teachers, meaning what? Direct disciples leading people to the Savior. Okay? Prophets and teachers, meaning they were responsible for the instruction of God. Watch this. As Barnabas and Simeon, that were called Niger, Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. Wait a minute, y'all. So this is telling us that Barnabas, who was a direct disciple with Paul, traveling throughout Northeast Africa, traveling throughout Asia Minor, he was called Niger, Niger. Is there a river Niger in Africa? You better believe it. Is there a country in Africa called Niger? You better believe it. Is there a country called Nigeria? You better believe it. So that's showing you that Simeon. So now keep in mind, there is a tribe out of the 12 tribes of Israel called the tribe of Simeon. I wonder what they look like. You have Barnabas, who is also called Niger, or black, or Negro. Niger is where we get the modern word Negro, which is black. Lucius of Cyrene. When you look up the term Cyrene, Cyrene, you find out that Cyrene is in Libya. Libya is in Africa, folks. Libya is in Africa. So now Herod the Idumean, who was a descendant of the Greco-Roman people groups, and Saul, whose name was changed to Paul, who was compared to a black Egyptian, they all learned in the same schools. Okay, they were brought up with Herod and Paul. Okay, let's go to another one. Let's go to now Paul being mistaken for a black Egyptian. Let's go to Acts chapter 21. This is why it's very important for us to study the Bible. Acts chapter 21, we're going to read let's read from 37 to 39. We're going to read about Paul. Acts chapter 21, Let's read verse 37 to 39. So now, why is this important? This is not advocating for some sort of color dominance or nothing like that, because people get all, silly when we get into these discussions. This is going into historical accuracy and transparency when it comes to the Bible. Very important to understand the difference. Okay? Acts chapter 21 verse 37. And as Paul was being led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? So here it is. Paul is getting arrested by a Roman guard. Paul starts to speak to him. And the man says to him, Can you speak Greek? Can you speak a Grecian dialect? Why are you speaking? And then he says to him, watch this, verse 38, Art not thou that Egyptian? He said, Aren't you that African? Aren't you that Mizraim? Aren't you that descendant of Ham? That's what he said to him. Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, listen close, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. I beseech thee, suffer me to speak to the people. Wow. So Paul was compared to a black Egyptian, and he corrected the person by saying, no, I'm a Hebrew that lived in Tarshish or Tarsus, a city in Cilicia under the Roman government, a citizen of no mean city. Meaning what? He was a citizen of the Roman Empire, but ethnically, culturally, he was Hebrew. He was of the kingdom of Judah, of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, let's go to one more. Let's go to Romans chapter 11, verse 1. Romans chapter 11, verse 1. Watch this. I say then, have God cast away his people? This is a very important question to ask, because in modern religion, we have been deceived to think that God does not care about his people that have been scattered all over the world through slavery and colonization. Has God cast away his people? What does the Bible say? God forbid. That means no. God forbid. That means no. For I also am an Israelite. You see that? So Paul himself says, I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. You see? God has not cast away his people, which he foreknew, meaning he knew previously and prophesied about it previously. Shalom to you, LJ. Hope you're doing well. Shalom to you, Saga. Hope you're doing well. It says, what ye not, the scripture says of Elijah? Don't you know what Elijah prophesied? How he made intercession to God against Israel? Okay. So this is going into another area and realm. I just wanted to show you that it is very important for us to study the Bible to get true context. So now, let's touch briefly upon the Passover. Many people postulate to be followers of Christ. However, Christ kept the Passover. Many Christians today do not keep the Passover. They keep the festival of Ishtar. They keep Saturnalia. They keep Lupercalia. They keep various Roman, Greco-Romanized traditions that come from the Roman system that unalived and deleted Christ. But they do not keep any of the Afro-Hebraic customs that was ordained to the children of Israel by our ancestors. So now, we're going to read about the history of Passover in the New Testament as it relates to our Messiah, Jesus Christ, also known as Yahushai, Yeshua, Isa, Yeshaya, Ashaya, or whatever title you want to use, Jehoshua, Joshua, Jezi, whatever title you want to use. It says, and it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these things, he said to his disciples, You know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Wait a minute. The Son of God, the Son of Man, is going to be betrayed on the Passover? Wow. You know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover. So now, according to Exodus chapter 12, this is the 14th day of the first month. Okay? This is the 14th day of the first month. Okay? So we're going to read what happened during this time period under Roman occupation. Verse 3. Then assembled together the chief priest and the scribes, that's the religious leaders, and the elders of the people, unto the place of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and delete him, meaning they were plotting. They were going against the laws of the Creator. Okay? Correct. Exodus chapter 12, verse 3, going on down. Okay? That goes into the Passover. Okay? It says, but they said, not on the feast day. Not on the feast day. So they were communicating with each other secretly, and they were saying, we want to delete this guy, but not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. You see? Because Christ was very popular at that time, which is why it's very important for us as Hebrews to have a good relationship with our people throughout the diaspora. You shouldn't be the one where someone says, this person has a bad name on them. We don't want to deal with that person. You should always have a good, upstanding character and be blameless amongst the people. Okay? Verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon or Simeon the leper, remember we were reading about Simeon earlier, right? This is a different Simeon, by the way, though. It says, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat, meaning when he was getting ready to eat food. Okay, the word meat doesn't mean like steak and potatoes. It just means they're going to eat food. Okay, that's what it means. So it says, for the ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she has wrought a good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she has poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel, meaning the good news of Christ, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman has done be told for a memorial of her. Meaning what? The real gospel hasn't been preached, y'all, because they would bring up this story every time they prophesy. You notice it's the Israelites that are always mentioning the story of this woman, okay, that brought out the apothecary ointments, okay, which was a Hebraic tradition, and anointed Christ prior to him being deleted. Okay, you can see this happening in the continent of Africa, where to this day they still celebrate these traditions of what our ancestors did, placing ointments over the body where the person still smells good even prior. They didn't have refrigerations and morgues like we do in the West. So how did they keep the thing fresh? The corpse. They kept it fresh by the anointing of ointments. Okay? Showing the correlation between the continent of Africa and the Bible. They don't do that in Western cultures. The people with the small hats and the blue and white flag, they don't do that. Yiddish people don't do that. Polish people don't do that. But I find this tradition right here in the continent of Africa and amongst the diaspora of the 12 tribes. Let's read on. Now we're going to read about Judas betraying Christ. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests, and he said unto them, what will you give me and I will deliver him unto you. And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. So y'all, this right here is a prophecy going back to the Old Testament. When you read the prophecies of the what they call the quote unquote minor prophets, they ain't minor. They're major. I don't know why the Gentiles call them minor. There's nothing minor about being a prophet of God. But anyways, they prophesied in the Old Testament that Christ would be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. How can they accurately depict the numerical value of how a man would be betrayed and sold as a slave? That was the highest amount of money a soul could be sold for in Roman times. Let's read on. It says, now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, that's the Passover. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, that's the 14th day of the first month, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where do you want, or where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? Where do you want to eat the Passover at, Christ? And he said unto them, go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, the master says, my time is at hand, I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12. And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were very exceeding sorrowful. We're currently reading in Matthew chapter 26, verse 22. So read along in your Bibles if you have it available. King James preferably. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, he that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him. Notice what the Bible says. Whenever you read in the text, as it is written, that means there's an Old Testament reference or an Apocrypha reference. This is why it's very important for you to study the Bible, Don't just skip to the New Testament and assume you know everything. No, in order to understand the mysteries of the kingdom of God, you have to understand the whole book. The problem with many people that were brought up in Gentilic Christianity, they only study the book of Psalms. They only study the correct precepts. They only study the book of Psalms, the book of Proverbs, maybe. They'll read a couple of things in Genesis. They'll skip over Exodus. They'll pick bits and pieces that they like, and then they'll isolate one or two scriptures that they like out of the Old Testament. And then they'll read the New Testament and they think they know the book. Who goes to the end of any book and know the entire book? It doesn't work like that. You have to study. You have to read. Okay, let's read on. It says, let's read on. It says, the Son of Man, this is verse 24, the Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been better for that man if he had not been born. So you can read about the betrayal of the Son of God in Psalms chapter 22, Psalms chapter 109 about Judas Iscariot. You can read about it in Psalms chapter 2, verse 1 through 4. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? You can read about that in Acts chapter 4, where they break down that parallel. There's a lot of different scriptures that talk about the birth, the deleting, the betrayal, the life, the resurrection, the immortality, the glory, coming back on the earth, reigning over the nations. All of that is found in the Old Testament. Future prophecies that haven't even taken place yet are in the Old Testament and the Apocrypha. But if you listen to some of the people in modern religion, they'll tell you, no, don't study the Bible for history and knowledge and prophecy. Just study it for religion. That's how people stay deceived. Let's read on, verse 26. And as they were eating, meaning what? They were partaking of the Passover. So if we call ourselves followers of the Messiah, why are you not celebrating the Passover? And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to his disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. So wait a minute, hold on a second. They call it communion, right? But understand this. According to the Bible, this was during the Passover, so it was the feast of sweet bread. It was the feast of sweet bread. Here's the proof. Because, this is the evidence here, folks, that the folks that are over there in Yiddish don't even know this book. Those folks with the small hats, they don't know this book. They will celebrate the Passover with a bunch of matzah bread and saltines and all of that stuff. When the Bible says this, 1 Esdras chapter 1, verse 19. Write this down. 1 Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 1, verse 19, it says, So the children of Israel, which were present, held the Passover at that time, and the feast of sweet bread. Wait a minute. And the feast of sweet bread 7 days. So the bread that Christ was breaking was sweet cakes. Sweet bread. Not matzah. Not the little chips that they give you, not the little cookies that they give you in the Catholic Church or in the Protestant churches. It's sweet bread. It's sweet cakes. Right? Unleavened bread is sweet bread. That's what Christ was breaking. You see? Which shows you that the communion in modern day churches is cap. Stop the cap. Let's go back. Matthew chapter 26, verse 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup, meaning what? The wine, and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. For this is my blood of the new covenant, the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, meaning the grape juice, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom, showing you a future prophecy. Showing you that in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to have the real wine. Not the fake little GMO stuff filled with arsenic that you guys drink today. Jesus foretells Peter's denial. Matthew chapter 26, verse 30. And when they had sung a hymn, meaning what? They were singing the book of Psalms. You know the book of Psalms is hymns, right? You know that within Proverbs, that's hymns, right? You know Songs of Solomon, that's hymns, right? Here it is, you got Gentiles creating their own hymns. But the Bible tells you that the hymns are the Psalms. Come on, y'all. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then said Jesus unto them, all ye shall be offended because of me this night. This man was a prophet. This man could foretell the future. This man knew what was going to take place before it happened. He said, this night, some of y'all are going to be offended. Some of y'all are going to run off. Then he verifies it by providing scripture to back up his claim. He says, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. You read about this in the quote-unquote minor prophets. I think it's Zechariah or Zephaniah, one of those. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. You see? That's what happened to us too. Once the Roman government deleted our Messiah, you had the destruction of Jerusalem in Northeast Africa.
And the Israelites were scattered all throughout Africa, all throughout Saudi Arabia, all throughout Asia Minor, all throughout the Roman Empire, scattered abroad. All the way to the point where we got scattered into all nations via slavery and colonization. Now you have Israelites in India. Now you have Israelites in Sri Lanka. Now you have Israelites in Australia. Now you have Israelites in Africa. Now you have Israelites in America and the Caribbean islands and South America, who are the descendants of captivity, scattered abroad, just like he said. Just like he said. Verse 32, but after I am risen again, meaning once I'm resurrected, I will go before you into Galilee. So he knew of the prophecies of him being deleted, and he knew that he would also be resurrected. Tell me what kind of faith we need today. Tell me what kind of faith we need today. I shall be resurrected, shall be resurrected. That's a mindset you got to have. No matter what comes, even if they take you out, I'm going to be resurrected. I'm going to live again. You have to have the same mindset as Christ. The same faith. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Notice it says the faith of Jesus, not just the faith in him. Meaning the same obedient spirit he had, that's the spirit we got to have. No matter what, you got to say, you know what? I don't care if they delete me. I'm not going to smack my lips on pork. I don't care if they delete me. I'm not going to break the Sabbath. I don't care if they delete me. I'm not going to dishonor God. That's the faith that we need to build ourselves up to. That's the faith of our ancestors. That's the faith of Stephen. That's the faith of Paul. That's the faith of Peter. That's the faith of Christ. That's the faith of Miriam. That's the faith of Thecla. That's the faith of Prisca. All of these men and women that understood the importance of following the ways of the Most High, that's what their faith was. Faith was the evidence. You have to have evidence to believe in this thing. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So you read through the prophecies of the Old Testament and you say, that came true, that came true, that came true. All right, I have the evidence. Now you read other passages and you say, okay, this text says we're going to be resurrected and given immortality. That hasn't happened yet. So this is a future prophecy that's going to come true. Increase your faith. Increase your faith. Matthew chapter 26, verse 33. Peter answered and said unto him, though all men should be offended because of thee, yet will I never be offended. This one jokers get cocky, y'all. Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, that this night before the crow thou shalt deny me thrice. So before the crow calls out, you are going to deny me 3 times. Wow. Wow. Verse 36. Then comes Jesus with them into a place called Gethsemane, and said unto the disciples, sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. So he went a distance away from them and he said, I need to focus my time right now on prayer. That's something that we need to emphasize as well. The importance of separating ourselves from friends and family, going to our quiet little area and just talk to God. Verse 37. And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then said he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto deletion. Tarry ye here and watch with me. So he said, look, just stay up with me. Pray with me, because I know these jokers are going to try to delete me. This man knew what was going to happen before it happened. Imagine the anguish of knowing that the police of the Roman government was coming to Rodney King you, coming to George Floyd you, coming to Malcolm X you, coming to Martin Luther King you. You understand the parallels here? Every rise of a Messiah of our people, the Roman government came, and he knew what was going to happen before it happened. So he was extremely sorrowful. Then he started to pray. Verse 39, and he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Sometimes God is going to reveal what happens to you before it happens, and you got to say, you know what? No matter what happens, let your will be done, Father. I've had dreams happen to me, and I experienced the dreams, and I was like, oh, that was the dream I had. That bad situation that I saw in my mind when I had that vision, that dream, it came true. So no matter what you do, God's will is going to be done regardless. It's better to be in a right thought process with him than to say, let me be rebellious, let me do my own thing. No, it's going to come to pass regardless. Walk in faith, y'all. Matthew 26 verse 40, and he came unto the disciples and found them asleep and said unto Peter, could you not watch with me 1 hour? It's like y'all brothers couldn't even stay awake 1 hour. Come on, man. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. We all have a desire to serve the Creator. We all have a desire to do what's upright, but your flesh is weak. That means you have to constantly study the Bible, pray, apply these texts. Sometimes you have to fast to get evil spirits off of you. Watch and pray that you enter not into your temptations. Now, temptations can have various meanings. It can mean your trials, like things you go through. It can mean a sinful desire, okay? There's various different meanings for the term temptation, okay? Your spirit, your mind, your soul is willing to obey God, but your flesh, your physical form is weak, okay? Let's read on. He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. So cup is going into judgments. Cups, when God says to drink the cup, that's going into judgments, prophecies that need to be fulfilled. There's a cup of God's judgment. There's also a cup of the wine of Babylon. Cups can have different meanings. Cups can mean doctrine. Cups can mean God's wrath. Cups can mean a particular event to take place. Okay, that's what it means when it says drink the cup. It ain't a literal cup of juice or vodka. It's a judgment being pronounced. Okay, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. So he's saying, if I have to take this cup, meaning involve myself in this situation, let your will be done, meaning I'm going to accept it. So now he's returning back. Let's find out what he finds out. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, and he left them and went away again. He's like, shoot, man, I can't, these brothers right here, I tell them to pray. This was his disciples, direct disciples. This is why I don't put no stock in human beings, y'all. I love my people, but I know that our people have faults. I can say, hey, let's do a Bible study plan. Let's read every day, 26 chapters a week, so we could be done with the whole entire Bible in a year. But I already know some going to do it, some not going to do it. So I do everything in my power to say, hey, let's read the Bible. Let's study the Bible. Let's build our faith together. Some are going to do it. Some are not going to do it. Just like the disciples here. Christ told them, look, I need you to stay awake. He went one time. He went 2 times, and they fell asleep again. At this point, he was like, you know what? Let me just go pray a 3rd time. So he's praying, and he says the same words. Then comes he to his disciples and say, okay, sleep on now and take your rest. Go ahead. I know you guys are tired. Go ahead and rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. Wow. That's showing you that the religious leaders and the Roman government, they weren't walking upright. They were full with hypocrisy.
Let's read on. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me. Verse 47. And while he spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he, hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. Some of us got so-called friends that will kiss us on the face, give us a hug, tell us, we love you, I appreciate you. Oh, forefront, you a good teacher. I don't take stock in anybody's compliments. I say thank you, all praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Because I know the same people that'll say, oh, you're such a good teacher, they'll be the same ones that say, crucify him, lock him up. He's an angry Negro. He's bad. I know how my people get down. Full of hypocrisy. They will kiss you in the face and then betray you the next day. Just like Judas. So I don't put stock in human beings. I take example from the Son of God. If they are willing to betray the most innocent man on the planet, they are willing to betray you. It doesn't matter if it's your father. It doesn't matter if it's your mother. It doesn't matter if it's your kids. It doesn't matter if it's your spouse. It does not matter if it's your uncle. It doesn't matter if it's your cousin. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend. Keep your eyes up, soldier. You're in spiritual war. Sometimes people will be in the spirit, meaning following the commandments of God, and sometimes people will be out of the spirit, meaning they're walking and operating by their own flesh. People got demons around them, y'all. Y'all know that, right? People got demons around them. So you better pay attention. When you say something and they give you that sly look at the side, you say, oh, okay. When you have a conversation and they utter something slick under their breath, you say, okay, take note of that. Observe, watch. Verse 50, and Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? So now he know the dude is betraying him. He's like, friend, everybody's sitting here sleeping. I went to go pray. Where were you? Where you coming from? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. He's like, nah, you ain't gonna get my man right here. We're warriors here. You ain't just gonna run up on him and take him. Then Jesus said unto him, Put up again thy sword into his place. For all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Whoa, that's a prophecy right there. Revelation chapter 13, verse 9 and 10. All they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. He that leads into captivity shall go into captivity. They're not going to say amen when you read that scripture in church. Trust me. They're not going to say amen, but it's in the word. Verse 53, Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? It's like I got spiritual army all around me. This is supposed to take place. This is supposed to happen. Don't you think I could call my Father to stop it right now? Verse 54, But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled? How then shall the scriptures be fulfilled? That thus it must be, meaning there's prophecies in the book, in the Old Testament, that have to come true. So when people have a conversation with me and they say, Forefront, why are you reading from the Old Testament? And I look at them like, are you saying the Old Testament is invalid? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking? There's prophecies here that did not happen yet. There's prophecies in the Old Testament that haven't transpired yet. So why would you disregard over 2/3 of the Bible? Makes no sense. So every prophecy that's in the book has to come true, has to be completed, has to be fulfilled. Verse 55, in that same hour said Jesus to the multitude, meaning this is a whole army of police officers all around him. This is a whole army of religious hypocrites all around him with the Roman government. He says, are you come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and you laid no hands on me, and you laid no hold on me. So he was rebuking them to their face. He said, he didn't cower down. He didn't back away. He didn't get scared. He told them straight, hey, I've been prophesying and teaching in your temples. What are you doing? What are you doing here? To convict them. To convict them. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. So the very thing that Christ said would happen did happen. Smite the shepherds, and the people will be scattered abroad. The very thing that he said was going to happen, the scriptures of the prophets had to be fulfilled. You see, this is why I tell people, there is no Mohammed prophet. There is no Catholic prophet. The prophets are only the Israelites. That's it. According to the book of Amos, anyway, if you believe the Bible. Verse 57. Matthew chapter 26, verse 57. And they that had laid hold on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him from afar off unto the high priest's palace, and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought to false witness against Jesus to put him to deletion. Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. You have religious leaders who grew up understanding thou shalt not lie. That was embedded in their customs from their youth. Meaning when they were kids, they grew up learning how to understand the Bible. They were taught not to bear false witness. They were taught not to lie, not to steal, not to commit adultery. So how is it that the religious leaders are the hypocrites? Just like you got in the Christian church today. Watch this. Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. And let's read verse 1. Exodus chapter 23, we're going to read verse 1. We're going to come back to this, but let's read that real quick. It says, thou shalt not raise up a false report. Thou shalt not raise up a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in the cause to decline after many to wrest judgment, meaning twisting judgment. You should not do that. You see? Verse 6, thou shalt not wrest the judgment of the poor in his cause. Keep thee far from a false matter. And the innocent and the righteous slay thou not. Slay thou not. For I will not justify the wicked. And thou shalt take no gift or bribe, for the gift blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. You see that? So this was a law that the religious leaders understood. But they bribed a man to betray the Son of Man, to betray the Messiah. Watch this. Let's go back. Matthew chapter 26. So the very law that these elders knew, they broke. Watch this. Matthew chapter 26, verse 51. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to deletion. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. They knew the law that says do not bear false witness, but they got two people to say, watch this, verse 60, but found none, yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came two false witnesses. Why did they have two false witnesses? Because There's a law in the Bible that says, under the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established. Let's go to it real quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to chapter 17 first. And let's read verse 6. It says, at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of deletion be put to deletion, but at the mouth of 1 witness ye shall not be put to deletion. Let's go to another precept or cross-reference. Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 15. It says, 1 witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. In any sin that he sins, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priest and the judges which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and behold, if the witness be a false witness, and have testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. And those that remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among them. You see that? So according to our customs and laws, you couldn't have just one eyewitness testimony. Like, you know how in this shows you the proof that the justice system in Western culture is all cap. They will bring one witness and say, hey, this person saw this person do this, and convict them of a crime falsely. Do you know how many hundreds of thousands of people have been convicted of crimes they did not even commit in America on a daily basis? Where one person is persuaded by a crooked judge, a crooked cop, a crooked lawyer to come in and to speak against this individual. We got to look at the parallels. The same thing you see happening under the Roman government during the time of Christ and the Israelites in Judea is the same parallels going on all over the world on a daily basis. Let's go back. Matthew chapter 26. Verse 60, but found none, yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses, and said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God, and to build it in 3 days. You see the lie they said? How can one man destroy a temple? Make it make sense. How can one man be responsible for this? Is like blaming the whole events of let me use an example from history. Let's say the Twin Towers situation, right? That's like saying the whole entire event of Twin Towers was orchestrated by one individual. Makes no sense. That's false witness. That's false. One person cannot take down an entire skyscraper. Okay? That's stupidity. I just want you to think. Verse 62, and the high priest arose and said unto him, answerest thou nothing? What is it which they witness against thee? So the high priest is talking to him, and he's saying, look, you don't see that they're witness against you? But Jesus held his peace. Sometimes you got to let God defend you, folks. Sometimes when people rise against you and say all manner of evil against you falsely, sometimes you just got to hold your peace. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Psalms chapter 119, verse 165. If you love God's laws and you know what's going to happen, you shouldn't be concerned. You talking bad about me? Oh, okay. I've had hundreds of people that I've come across now on the internet that speak against me just for reading the Bible real loud. I've had people make videos, and I've just been on TikTok for a year.
Imagine if I did this for 5 years. This would be amazing. Amazing. I just smile and say, oh, thank you for the free advertisement. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. That's how I am. Okay. It says, and the high priest arose and said unto him, answerest thou nothing? What is it which they witness against thee? But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God. He said, I adjure you by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be Christ, the Son of God. And Jesus said unto him, thou hast said. Nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he hath spoken blasphemy. What further need we have of any witnesses? Behold, now you have heard his blasphemy. All this man said was, you're going to see the Son of Man sitting next to the Father. That's all he said. And they said, oh, you comparing yourself to God? You saying you the Son of God? Oh, okay. They were so mad, they were so upset, they got in their feelings. Just like when we read the Bible real loud and people get mad and upset and they make videos about us and say, you guys, you're a cult. Why? Because we're reading the Bible real loud? You don't know that the Bible is our culture? The real word of cults is culture. You do know that, right? And when we tell people we need to turn back to our Bible, not as a religion, but as a culture, the people with delusionalism say, you're in a cult. Here's the trippy thing about it. They're worshiping Easter bunnies laying eggs, and last time I checked, rabbits cannot defecate eggs. They're worshiping Satan claws, but they turn around and say to you that you following the Bible is cultic. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Let's read on verse 64. Thou hast said, oh, I read that already. Verse 66, what think ye? They answered and said, he is guilty of deletion. Then, so now think about that. They already were plotting already before. So then they heard him speak one sentence, and now they say he's guilty. That is false, y'all. That is false. Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hand. Meaning what? They was beaten on the Son of God. How disrespectful for innocent men, women, and children to be mistreated by sinners. You're going to always see the parallels here. You have Cain that do things the way they feel according to their religion, and you have Abel that does it the way God says to do it. You have Abel that says, keep the commandments and live righteously. You have Cain that says, no, I'm going to do it how I feel. My religion, my religion, my religion. And if you don't do how we say to do religion, you're blaspheming. You're a heretic. Isn't that what the Catholic Church did, persecuting millions of people? Isn't that what Islam did when they persecuted millions of people? Isn't that what Judaism did when they persecuted millions of people? Is that not what politicians do when they persecute millions of people? Let's just look at the parallels. So then they're beating on the Son of God, and they're saying, prophesy unto us, thou Christ, who is he that smote thee? After they blindfolded the man. This is the same parallel to police officers in the West handcuffing innocent individuals, stripping them down and putting them in a red jumpsuit or an orange jumpsuit while they're handcuffed, beating on them, just like the Son of God. We are the children of the Most High. The same thing happened to Christ is happening to his people on a daily basis, and we don't even see it. We don't even realize it. Let's read on. Matthew chapter 26, verse 69. Now Peter sat without in the palace, so he was outside the palace, and a woman or a damsel came unto him, saying, thou also was with Jesus of Galilee. But he denied before them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest. What you talking about, woman? What are you talking about, woman? I don't know what you talking about. I know not what thou sayest. Verse 71. And when he had gone out into the porch, another maid said to him, and said unto them that were there, this fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth. He's like, that Nazarite guy, that guy over there with the dreadlocks, I know him. Peter, he hung around with him. And again, he denied with an oath. So now he's swearing now. Now he's swearing, I do not know the man. Matthew chapter 26, verse 73. And after a while came unto him that stood by and said to Peter, surely thou also art one of them, for thy speech bewrayeth thee. Meaning, I can hear out your mouth based on what you're talking, you're not telling the truth. Then he began to curse and to swear, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew. Wow. So he heard the rooster go doo 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 doo. Right when he uttered his betrayal. Then Peter remembered the words of Jesus, which he said unto him, before the rooster crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly. Wow. Wow. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing well. So imagine betraying the Son of God. Imagine the amount of remorse you felt knowing that you treated or mistreated your brother or your sister. That right there, if you got good sense, you're going to repent. You're going to say, you know what? Let me get my mind right, especially in this new year, this new season. We should have the mindset to deal right by one another, which is why it's very important for us to study the Bible. Christ is our Passover. Do me a favor, y'all. We got 100 people in the chat. Share the room with at least 10 people and tap the screen. Let's get the likes up to at least 30K. Okay? Tap the screen, get the likes up, because we're going to get into a little bit more of this history. Then we're going to talk about the plagues of Egypt. Okay? We're going to get into some more history, and we're going to talk about the plagues of Egypt. So I know a lot of y'all are waiting to hear about the plagues, but we got to get this history out of the way first so we can understand the importance of our Savior. Okay? So now we're going to go to Matthew chapter 27. Now we're going to read Matthew chapter 27, and we're going to see the direct result of Jesus coming across the American government. Oops, I meant the Roman government. Watch this. It says, when the morning was come, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to deletion. And when they had bound him, meaning arrested him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. We know governor is an established system that Greco-Romans have, right? The leader of that particular area. Just like in America, several different states have governors. They fashion it from Rome. Verse 3, Matthew 27, verse 3. It says, Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, meaning what? He realized the prophecies of Psalms chapter 22. He realized the prophecies of Psalms chapter 109. He repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to it. They ain't got nothing to do with us now. That's what the religious leaders were saying at the time. That's how evil they were at the time. So at least Judas had the understanding that he did something wrong. Why? Because he had an understanding of the law, right? Let me see who's paying attention. What law did we just read in the book of Exodus that talked about not bearing false witness, not taking a bribe? What chapter? Let me see if y'all paying attention. What chapter did we just read? This is for educational purposes only. Thank you for putting that up, moderator. What chapter did we read earlier in the book of Exodus? I just gave you the book. Just give me the chapter number that talked about not betraying innocent blood, not following a multitude to do evil, not taking a gift or a bribe, that it perverts justice. Well, what chapter did we go to? Let me see if y'all writing this down and paying attention. Correct. Thank you. Exodus 23, 1 and down. Good job. All praises to the Creator. All right. So now let's continue. Matthew chapter 27. We're going to start at verse 4. Again, it says, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou that to it. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. Wow. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful for to put them into the sanctuary, because it is the price of blood. This is hypocrisy to the utmost, y'all. This right here is hypocrisy to the 29th power. First you betray the man, then you say it's not lawful to put this money in the treasury because it's the price of blood. You see that? Because they know their laws. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord appointed me. You see that? So this is why it's important to study the Old Testament, because you'll see the prophecy once you read Jeremiah, and you'll correlate it to what you're seeing in the New Testament. Okay? Let's read on. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, art thou the King of the Jews? And Jesus said unto him, thou sayest. And when he was accused of the chief priests and the elders, he answered nothing. Imagine a whole crowd of people coming against you saying, you're the one that said you were going to destroy the temple. You're the one that was saying that you're immortal. You're the one that's saying that you got legions of angels. You're the one that's doing all these miracles in front of everybody, healing the people, casting out the sick, casting out demons off of people and all this stuff. And he's just sitting there chilling like, I could really, like, he's thinking to himself, I could really call like angels down right now and have all of this taken care of, but this has to happen. And he held his tongue. He didn't say nothing. So let's take the example of Christ. When people speak against you and you know they're in the midst of evil and sin, all you got to do is fall back and say, okay, God got me. Don't try to justify yourself. Don't try to say, oh, no, you're wrong. You're a liar. You're not lying. You lying on. Sometimes you just got to fall back and say, okay, God got me. God is going to take care of this situation. If they take me out, I'm going to be immortal and then I'm going to rule over them anyways. It is what it is. If they put me in prison, okay, I'm going to get out eventually. Okay, it is what it is. The Most High got me. Increase your faith, folks. I'm trying to tell you before it happens. So when it happens, you're going to be like, wow, Forefront did say this. Okay. When he was accused of the chief priests, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? So now this is a Roman government. Think of it like this. Think of it like Rahm Emanuel or some Edomite that's ruling over a black city like Chicago, right? All of these religious hypocrites that have an affinity to the Roman government, the American government, are standing before and they bring forth, let's say, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. They say, look, this dude is doing all of this stuff over here. They take Kwame Nkrumah or Nelson Mandela and bring them before the Roman government. That's the same parallels, folks. Okay? So now, the leader, Pilate, that's the governor, he's like, don't you see these people talking against you? And he answered, this is what Jesus did, and he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. So now he's shocked. He's like, I've never seen nobody like this before. Here it is. You got all these people accusing him, and he's just sitting here like quiet, like a sheep being led to the slaughter. He has nothing to say. He's not defending himself. He's not speaking against them. He's not cursing them. He's not doing anything. He's just sitting there listening. What kind of bold faith you got to have when people will lie to your name, lie to your face, lie about your character, and you just don't say nothing. You just say, oh, okay, I see ya. Good luck with that. You got to have the mindset like Christ. You got to be like, okay, good luck with that on Judgment Day. When you see me again, I'm gonna be smiling. I'm gonna say, hey, Charlie, how are you? You remember when you remember when you hung me on a rope? You remember when you did this to me? You remember when you shot at, pew pew at me? Hey, Charlie, how you doing? You understand? That's the mindset you got to have like Christ. No matter what, you're going to have an immortal body, and you're going to see your accusers in that day. And that day, and on Resurrection Day, is going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth for real. The resurrection of the righteous, they're going to be looking at the resurrection of the wicked. The resurrection of the wicked is going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The resurrection of the righteous, they're going to be smiling and saying, all praises to the Most High. Let's read on. It says, now at the feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people. This is during the feast of what? Unleavened bread, which is right during the week of Passover. Now at the feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner, meaning somebody they knew who did evil stuff, called Barabbas, son of Abba, Barabbas. Therefore, when they are gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or this Jesus, Yahushua, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered them. Meaning what? You got some jokers out here that's envious of you, and they'll deliver you to the government, no problem. You got some people that are envious of you, and they will deliver you to the government with false accusations, with no pressure. They would rather release a known criminal than to release an innocent person. Let's read on. This is Matthew chapter 27, verse 19. Then he was set down on the judgment seat. His wife sent unto him, saying, have nothing to do with this man. Have nothing to do with that just man. For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. Meaning even the heathen woman was having visions about the Messiah. Meaning what? The Most High was revealing to her the judgment that would come to her people for prosecuting the Son of God. Where can I rewatch this live stream? The Forefront Radio is available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. We have the Forefront Radio 1 and the Forefront Radio 2 on YouTube. So if time permits, I'll re-download this podcast and I'll air it on YouTube, and you can go to the Forefront Radio 2.0 and you'll find it on YouTube. Okay? So it says, verse 22, Pilate said unto him, what shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all said, let him be crucified. Verse 23. And the governor said, why? What evil has he done? What does Negro do? What did this Negro do? He didn't do anything. Here it is, you got a Gentile that's advocating for a black man, saying this man didn't do anything. Why do you want to delete him? And the governor said, why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. Let him be crucified. Let him be crucified. Imagine a whole crowd of people standing around saying, delete that Negro. Wow. Verse 24, when Pilate saw that he could not prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. But were the Romans really innocent? No, they weren't. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be upon us and on all our children. That's Deuteronomy 28 right there, y'all. That is Deuteronomy 28 in the New Testament right there. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. So wait a minute. You said, Roman governor, that your hands were innocent from it, but you let your police officers beat him down. You let your police officers beat him down. Watch this. Verse 27, then the soldiers, this is the police, right, of the governor took Jesus into the common hall, and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. Just like in the police systems in America, they strip you down and put you in a scarlet robe, a red jumpsuit, or an orange jumpsuit. You know, orange is just, red with a little bit of sprinkle of, a different variant to make it orange, right? You do know that, right? So the same thing the Roman government was doing back then, they're doing today in 2024. So the police officers stripped him down, started going boom, 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 boom. And when they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put upon him on his head and a reed on his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." This is like saying, "Hail, King of the Negroes, King of the Jews." And they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. Imagine being convicted of a crime that you did not commit, having people yell at the top of their lungs after church to hang strange fruit from the poplar trees. This is the same parallel. This is the same parallel. Either you get it or you don't. This is the same parallel. The crucifixion. Matthew chapter 27, verse 32. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, that's Libya, that's Africa, Simon or Simeon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. So here it is, you got one melanated person that's about to be crucified. They took another brother, a Jew from Libya, which is in Africa, named Simon, and they said, "Hey, you over there, you hold this cross for him." Because they beat Christ to a pulp. Jesus was beaten so bad he could not carry his... So the police beat this man so bad he couldn't even carry his own cross, man. And when they were come into a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of the skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. Why? Because Jesus was a Nazarite. When you read the Nazarite vow in the book of Numbers, you find out that it was unlawful for you to drink any vinegar or any grapes, okay? It was unlawful for you to do it, okay? So that prophecy that you read about in Psalms 22 that talks about him getting vinegar to drink, this was the fulfillment of the prophecy. That's why it's called Jesus of Nazareth. He was a Nazarite. Verse 35, and they crucified him, meaning they brought an innocent man to be deleted by the Roman government, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. Which prophet? King David. Which prophet? King David. You can read about this in Psalms. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. That's Psalms chapter 22, folks. That's Psalms chapter 22. Correct, he's a Nazarite. And sitting down, they watched him there, and set up over his head his accusation. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. You know how disrespectful it is for another nationality to come and delete your king in front of everybody? You know how disrespectful that is? I'm getting upset just thinking about it. Then were there two thieves crucified with right hand. No, I'm not accepting any co-hosts. Like it's a lot of Islamic people that's always trying to co-host on my show, man. What's wrong with them? Verse 30. Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one of the right hand and one on the left hand. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads. You read about this in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. And saying, thou that destroys the temple, buildest it up in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the Son of God, come down from the cross. This is like when they come into you and say, are you a Hebrew? Are you a Hebrew Israelite? Are you the Son of God? That's the same thing when Gentiles come and say to you, are you the Son of God? I say, yeah, I sure am, yeah. Likewise also the chief priests mocking him. Wait a minute. So the religious leaders joined in? Likewise also the chief priests mocking him with the scribes and elders said, he saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. This is how evil jokers are, man. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing well. Watch this. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. We're going to start at verse... Let's start at verse 16. It says, we are esteemed of him as counterfeit. He abstains from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounced the end of the just to be blessed, and makes his boast that God is his father. Wait a minute. So Solomon, who wrote Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5, I am black but comely, said that somebody was going to come on the scene and pronounce himself that God would be his father. I wonder who he's talking about. I wonder who. Maybe he's talking about the Messiah hundreds of thousands of years before it happened. We call it history. The Bible calls it prophecy. So before it took place, Solomon in his wisdom already described what would happen to our Savior. Watch this. It says, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, verse 13, he professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calls himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's, his ways are of another fashion. Meaning the same way the Son of God conducted himself, that's the same way we are. They say, you're strange. I feel Levi, you don't operate like everybody else. You're always talking about the Bible. You're always conversing about the Bible. Your ways are of another fashion. Y'all always trying to tell people to keep God's laws. You're different than everybody else. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Watch this. Verse 15. How do they feel about us? Nope. Let's go to verse 17. It says, let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the Son of God, if the just man be the Son of God, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Wait a minute. Who is this talking about in the Apocrypha? In the hidden writings of the Bible that they removed out of the original King James Bible. This is talking about Christ. This is talking about the Messiah in the Apocrypha. Yes, Paul had locks too. This is talking about the Messiah, y'all. Let us condemn him with a shameful deletion, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things did they imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. As for the mysteries of God, they knew them not, neither hope they for the wages of righteousness, neither discern the reward for blameless soul. For God created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his eternity. This is going into Adam, this is going into Christ. This is going into Adam. This is going into Christ. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came deletion into the world, and they that do hold on his side do find it. Meaning, if you want life, you're going to walk in the ways of Christ. If you want deletion, you're going to walk in the ways of the devil. It is what it is. Let's go back. Matthew chapter 27, verse 42. What did the elders and the religious leaders say? The same prophecy we just read in Wisdom of Solomon. He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the Son of God. I am the Son of God. That's the same thing today when we say that we are the children of Israel, and you jokers out here say, you're not the sons of God. You are Negroes, you are black, you're Latino, you're this, you're that, you're African. But the Bible says that the just shall live by faith. So those that are keeping the commandments, we know who we are. Those that are living in sin, we know who you are too. Let's read on. Let's read about the deletion of Jesus Christ. Verse 45. Matthew chapter 27, verse 45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. Hold up, wait a minute. It was a solar eclipse for 3 hours. It was a solar eclipse during the Passover, and it's a solar eclipse going on right now during the Passover. In just a few days, there's going to be a solar eclipse over America. Things that make you go, And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? You could read about that in the Old Testament as well. Some of them stood there. When they heard it, they said, this man calls for Elias, which is Elijah. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, let be. Let us see whether Elijah will come to save him. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks went, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. Meaning what? You had some of our ancestors, right when Christ was crucified, they resurrected from the grave. The ground shook, and his death was so significant that bodies was coming out of the grave, y'all. Either you get it or you don't. That's heavy right there. That right there is heavy. If I had a solar eclipse and bodies would... No, I'm not going to talk about that. They're not going to get it. All right, let me continue reading. Verse 53. And came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Why is that we don't have records of what happened when these people were going around traveling? Why is it that we don't have records of this? I'm telling you, these records exist of people that woke up and documented what happened. They're in books that they took out of the Bible. Let me just put it like that. Like the Gospel of Nicodemus. That's one example. Okay. The letters of Barnabas, that's another example. The Gospel of James, that's another example of books that they removed. Because it's talking about people that literally, right when the Son of God was being crucified, after his resurrection, graves, people were coming up and going and walking around in Jerusalem, appearing to many. That's going into hundreds of thousands of people that saw it. Okay. Verse 54. Now when the centurion and they that were with him watching Jesus saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, truly, this was the Son of God. Imagine, you're a soldier. You're responsible for watching over a person that was a prisoner. You see an earthquake happen, and you're shocked that the earthquake is occurring right when this person is being deleted. Okay? Verse 55. Many women were there beholding afar off, which followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering unto him, among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James, and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's children. When the evening was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, or Yawasap, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. Why don't we have any books about Joseph of Arimathea? Why don't we have a gospel of Joseph of Arimathea? Showing you that people took some books out, y'all. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed. You read about that in Isaiah chapter 53. Meaning everything we're reading in the New Testament, there's prophecies about it in the Old. And everything you see happening in today's events, there's prophecies of it in the Old Apocrypha and the New Testament. We're going to show it today when we go over the plagues. But I got to go over this history because some people don't realize that Christ is our Passover. And we should be celebrating Passover because Christ is the Lamb that takes away our sins. Let's read on. Verse 62. It says, Now the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure unto the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, He is risen from the deletion. So the last era shall be worse than the first. That's how hypocritical these jokers are. If they didn't believe he was the Son of God, why would they go to the governor and say, hey, make sure you have soldiers that are around his tomb so he don't get out? Verse 65, Pilate said unto him, You have a watch. Go your way. Make it as sure as you can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting the watch. All right. So when you read chapter 28, you read about his resurrection and different things of that nature. But I just wanted to show you this basis here so we understand that Christ is our Passover. From there, let's go to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to read from verse 1 to 15. Exodus chapter 12, we're going to read from 1 to 15. Moderators, put it in the chat. Do me a favor, y'all. Share the room with at least 10 people. Tap the screen to get the likes up. We should be at least 40K by now. We've been going for about 90 minutes or so. Share this room with at least 10 people, y'all. If you're enjoying the chat so far, put a 1 in the chat if you're enjoying it. Let's pin that scripture to the top, please. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1 to 15. Let's read it. It says, And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, and in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So around March to April is the first month of the new year. That's why they call us, quote unquote, April Fools, because we were keeping the calendar as it's written. Not in the dead of winter in January, but in the beginning of the year. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of the month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers. This Bible has never been about religion. It's always been about our ancestors. Correct. March 25th was our new year. Correct. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, that's just like the Son of God, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. This is why when we celebrate Passover, we have it from either the sheep or from the goats. Okay, lamb, not sheep, and then you have goats, just like in the Caribbean islands. They like eating goats. I like eating goats too. This Passover, I'm gonna have goat. Last Passover, I had lamb. Verse 6, and ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening, and they shall take the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts of the upper door post of the houses, wherein they shall eat. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So remember, we read in 1st Ezra chapter 1 that the unleavened bread was sweet bread, sweet cakes. Not the crackers that they give you in the Christian church. Sweet bread, like a brownie, without yeast in it. Okay? So now, how we cook it? You have to roast it with fire. Not put it in the microwave, not put it in the oven. Grill it with fire. Okay? Verse 9. Oh, one more thing. You have to season it with salt. The seasoning that you put on it is salt. Let's go to the precept real quick. Let's go to Leviticus, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 2. We're going to read verse 13. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13. This is the law. When it comes to the Passover, the only seasoning we can put on it is salt. Listen close. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13, it says, "And every oblation of thy meat offering shalt thou season with salt. Season with salt. Neither shalt thou suffer the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from the meat offering. With all thine offerings thou shalt offer salt." So you see how the Most High is? This is how you know the Most High is a black man. He's like, don't put a pinch of salt. Don't put you know how the Gentiles, they say, oh, let's take a pinch of salt and put a little paprika and a little bit of pepper. And no, the Most High said, you better put salt on my food, damn it. He said, no, listen, the salt better not be lacking. You better give me some flavor in that thing. You understand me? That's why Christ said you are the salt of the earth, by the way. All right, let's go back. That's some parables for you. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. So, Exodus chapter 12, verse 9 now. Exodus chapter 12, verse 9. It says, "Eat not of it raw," meaning don't eat it rare, like some gentilic people do. Don't eat it rare. God don't like medium rare food. Eat it not raw, nor sodden at all with water. I mean, don't boil it, but roast it with fire. His head with the legs and with the purtenance thereof. Verse 10. "And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover." So this was happening because we were trying to escape out of Egypt. Okay, "For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods, I will execute judgment. I am the Lord." You see that? So the plagues of Egypt wasn't just against the firstborn, it was against the gods of Egypt. And we're going to break that down today. We're going to have a comprehensive study today going into the breakdown of all the gods of Egypt that the Most High was jacking up, just like all the gods of America, all the gods of Europe, all the gods of Asia, all the gods of Africa. The Most High is going to jack them up with these plagues all throughout the earth. And we're going to give you the parallels today. So make sure you got a pen and a paper. Make sure you're writing this down, because this is going to be a comprehensive study about the plagues. So make sure you're staying in this room. Do not exit the live. We're going to go into prophecy, history. We're going in a bunch of stuff, folks. So make sure that you got your pen and paper ready to write this down. Okay? All right. Let's go to the next precept. Hold on 1 second. Let me read Exodus chapter 12, verse 10 again. It says, "And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire." What do y'all think that means? Burn it with fire. You eat as much as you can eat, and the rest, burn it with fire. My wife asked if you could burn it with fire in the morning. Because it says, let nothing of it remain until the morning. Nope. This verse right here says, let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remains of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. So eat as much as you can eat up until the morning. So in that morning, then you would in that morning, then you would burn the rest. Instead of putting it in the garbage, you would burn the rest. I get it now. I see why you asked that question, because it says let nothing of it remain in the morning, but then it says in the morning burn it with fire. So I get why you asked that question. All right. Verse 11, it says, thus shall you eat it. No, we read that part already. Let's go to verse 13 down to 15. This is Exodus chapter 12, verse 13. Okay. It says, no leftovers. No leftovers. Okay. Exodus chapter 12, verse 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt, aka America, aka Babylon the Great, aka Europe, aka the oppressor. Verse 14, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial. This is our Independence Day, folks, not the 4th of July. And ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever, forever, forever. Now here it is in 2024. You got the Christian church telling you not to keep God's laws. And God said, you're going to keep it throughout your generations. The root word of generation is genes. That means your children, your children's children, your children's children's children, forever, forever. What part of forever did the Christian church don't get? They say Christmas, forever. Easter, forever. Passover? No, that's done away with. When God said forever, meaning what? Even in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to be celebrating this. You do know that, right? You do know in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to be celebrating this. You do know that, right? Let's read on, verse 15. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Remember, we read in 1 Esdras chapter 1 that it's sweet cakes, sweet bread. 1 Esdras chapter 1. It's not the matzah. It's not naan bread. Okay? It's not a tortilla bread. It's sweet bread. When the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses, for whosoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. So what's interesting, the Christian church, they'll read whosoever in John 3:16, and they'll say that applies to everybody. But then when you read whosoever eats the leavened bread shall be cut off, they don't believe that. So how can you accept the whosoever in the New Testament but disregard the whosoever in the Old Testament? That shows you hypocrisy, man. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. All right, so now let's see the parallels. Let's go to the New Testament. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. We're going to start at verse 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. It says, what does leaven represent? Listen close. It says, purge out therefore the old leaven, that you might be a new lump. You are unleavened, for even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Let me read it again. Purge out therefore the old leaven. What does old leaven represent? Sin. The works of lawless behavior, lying, stealing, adultery, idolatry, witchcraft, sorcery, all of these things you have to purge from yourself because you are unleavened. You are the bread. You are the unleavened cake. You're sweet according to God. For even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Now watch this. This is in Corinth. This is written to the Israelites living in Corinth, who are called Corinthians. Therefore, let us keep the feast. What does the Bible say? Therefore, let us keep the feast. What did Paul say? Therefore, let us keep the feast. They skipped that verse in church. Wait a minute. So Paul, after Jesus was resurrected, said we need to keep the feast? Huh. Interesting. Not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Watch this. I wrote unto you in an epistle not to keep company with fornicators. Verse 11, but now I have written unto you not to keep company, if any man be called a brother, be a fornicator or covetous, meaning what? They're into corn. They're all about themselves and how they can pleasure themselves. Or covetous, meaning they're greedy for advantage. They're opportunistic. Or an idolater, meaning they're not worshiping the Black Messiah. They want to worship a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy that don't exist. Or they want to worship Allah, or Buddha, or Krishna, or Superman, or Star Wars. That's what they want to worship. They want to worship sports idols. Or a railer, that's somebody who likes to cuss people out. Or a drunkard, that's somebody who likes to drink, not in moderation, but they drink to overly indulge. That's leaven. That's the leaven that you purge out. Or extortioners, meaning they scam people, scam artists, con artists, or with idolaters, okay? With such an one, know not to eat. Don't eat with nobody that's like that, y'all. When you keep your festivals, you make sure you don't deal with anybody that's what? Sleeping around with people and not wanting to be married. Greedy for advantage because they're covetous. Worshiping other gods. That's what it means when it says purge out the leaven of wickedness, of malice, of anger. Here it is, you know you're Hebrew, but you're going around the internet arguing with other people that is your own people instead of breaking down to folks to get rid of fornication, get rid of covetousness, get rid of idolatry, get rid of railing, get rid of drunkards, get rid of... Don't deal with folks like that. That rather argue with, oh, you're not an Israelite, you're a Hispanic. Not knowing that more people were enslaved in Latin America than in the United States. You can't make this stuff up. You're not an Israelite, you're an African. Not knowing that hundreds of thousands of Israelites fled into Africa from Northeast Africa. You think all of the slaves came to America? No, some of them are still in the continent of Africa. Oh, you're not an African, you're not an Israelite, you're an East Indian with the red dot. You don't read about the story of Esther, where Israelites were scattered all the way from Ethiopia all the way to India? Oh, you're not an Israelite, you're a Ching Ching, you're Chinese. You don't read about the East African slave trade where slaves were brought all the way to China and called Zengchi? You're not an Israelite, you're from Spain. You don't read about the Sephardic Hebrews that were melanated people that were taken as slaves and brought over to Latin America? Come on, man. People are ignorant of history. That's why I don't deal with a lot of folks. I just read. I like to read. When the Bible says you are scattered in all nations, it literally means just that. Let's read on. What does the leaven represent again? Let's find out. Let's go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 19. I need to keep reading scriptures before my sarcasm starts to kick in. I want to make sure I start reading scriptures so I stay in the spirit. Let's go to Galatians chapter 5. We're going to start at verse 16. It says, "This I say then, walk in the spirit, and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh." Meaning what? The words of the Bible fights against your sinful nature. The words of the spirit fights against your sinful nature. Verse 18. "But if you be led of the spirit," meaning you're led by the words of the Bible, "you are not under the law." Meaning what? You're not under the law of animal sacrifice. You're not under the law of sin and death. "Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, that means anger, strife, seditions, heresies. Whenever you're reading the Bible, don't let nobody get you so riled up that you're full of wrath, that you're full of strife, that you're full of hatred. Whenever you're studying and prophesying to the people, make sure that you overcome the thoughts of adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. Make sure you purge yourself of these things. You understand? You got to stay in the Spirit, stay in the Bible. Okay? Verse 21, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, that's people that like to club all the time, and such like, of the which I told you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit, meaning what? You're following the laws of the Creator. You're reading the Bible. You're applying everything that you read. You're living in a righteous life. The fruit, meaning the action behind you keeping the commandments and walking in the faith and testimony of the Messiah, is this: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, that means self-control. Against such there is no law. Meaning what? There's a law against thou shalt not commit adultery. There's a law against thou shalt not worship another god. There's a law against witchcraft. There's a law against having hatred in your heart. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. That's a law, folks. But guess what? If you walk in the Spirit, you're going to be meek. You're going to be humble. You're going to be temperate. You're going to have self-control. You're going to have love no matter how many people disrespect you, mistreat you, speak bad about you, betray you. You're still going to carry love in your heart. You're going to say, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't realize that they're condemning themselves by their actions. Help them to get it together. It doesn't matter if it's your cousin. It doesn't matter if your friend, your best friend, your elder, your mom, your dad, your spouse. Walk in love. Have joy. Have peace. Have long-suffering. Just as God was patient with you when you were in the midst of lawless behavior, sin, you need to be patient with others. You need to be meek. You need to be humble. Yeah, they betrayed you. Yeah, they talk bad about you. Yeah, they mistreat you. So what? Get over it. Walk in love. Walk in joy. Walk in peace. Because you keep afflicting yourself, thinking about the same thing over and over and over. Let the past be the past. Move on. Move forward with your life in a positive direction. You understand? I hope you do. We're going to take a short commercial break. I'm going to play a song real quick, and I'll be right back. I got to go get my charger from my phone. So I'll be back in just a moment.
Red and thine apparel. Wherefore all that red and thine apparel.
Why I dip in the blood of the grapes? The blood of the grapes, apparel is full of the blood to the horse's face. The enemies plotting in vain, waiting the judgment day. There shall be weeping and gnashing in that bloody day. Avenge me of the heathen that shall snub with me. That chariot's full of fame, angels, thunder, rain. Trumpets sound like Latin, flashing and bread in your brain. The wicked be ash, stubble under all our feet. Wherefore art thou full of joy, Zion reigns. Blackest night, turn the light, everlasting King. Messiah, full of wrath for the evil day. That shall melt with fervent heat and eternal flame. Then we'll see our enemies burn eternal pain. Same enemies that drag us with them feathers and the chains. Ladder rain pouring out like a flood. Yup, again, rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Fallen, never to rise again. Fallen, never to rise again. Rejoice, O Zion, Babylon fallen. Babylon falling, Babylon falling.
Babylon falling and come down. And Babylon falling and come down. Babylon falling and come down. Say Babylon falling and come down. Babylon coming and fall down. Babylon coming and fall down. Babylon coming, Babylon coming, Babylon coming and fall down.
Judgment coming like a rent check. These wicked heathen they got next. They think they blessed, but they live in stress. Christ come back, chopping off their neck. Course of sin, it is death. They off the boat, but we on the deck like a spades game. We got the deck. Our cannon coming like a blank check. Too late for y'all to flex. Muscle scriptures like a bench press. Sending prayers like incense. Lord, hear me, the heathen dead. Revelation in 13:10. Isaiah 14, yeah. Revelation in 13:10. Isaiah 14, yeah.
Babylon falling.
All right, folks, we're back. Do me a favor, share the room with at least 10 people. All right, we're going to get right into it and continue the discussion. I got more scriptures. In relation to the Passover, so we're going to continue on the study, okay? Put a 1 in the chat if the audio is clear. I'm going to make sure everybody can hear properly. Is the audio clear? Put a 1 in the chat. Fat Slim, already. All praises. Okay, let me end the music real quick. All right, thank you so much for your patience. I saw my phone was at 38%, so I was like, okay, let me go ahead. Yeah, there's a lot of static. That's the microphone system that I have. The microphone system that I have has staticky noise, so that's just how it is. But you're still able to hear me, but something is too loud. Okay, hold on. Is that better? Let me decrease the volume. Is that better? Okay. All right. So I decreased it a little bit so it won't be too loud. Hopefully, if you're having any issues, louder. Okay. How about now? Is that better? Is that better? Okay. All right. So when I mute my mic, you won't hear any static. Oh, I get it. I see what's going on. When I plug my phone into the charger, it created a static discharge. That's why. Okay. Is that better? Much better. Okay, that's what it was. So, unfortunately, that means when I have my podcast equipment connected, I can't plug in the charger because then that means I'm going to just have to do this class really fast. So make sure you have a pen and paper and write this down. So just in case my phone does not die on us while we're having a discussion. All right. There's more precepts that we could go to in regards to unleavened bread, showing you the proof that Christ and the disciples celebrated Passover, and we should still celebrate Passover. But I think you guys get the point, right? All right, so we're going to get into the next part of the discussion. We're going to go into the plagues of Egypt. I think this is what everybody was waiting for anyway, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about the plagues of Egypt. That's what we're going to talk about today. So that's actually the main topic for today. So let's get right into it. The plagues of Egypt. All right, so let's start off with a Wikipedia article called The Plagues of Egypt. Will this also be on your YouTube? Yeah, I'm going to try my best to record this and put it on YouTube, so it will be available on YouTube. So make sure if you're not subscribed, follow our YouTube channel. If you click on my profile, there's a pop-up link that will give you all my social media. All my social media is on the main page. When you click on my profile, you'll be able to see there's a link to 2 of my YouTube channels. There's a link to Spotify. There's a link to PayPal, Cash App, Instagram, and other social media stuff. I think I should add my iHeartRadio on there too. But yeah, we'll go ahead and add that on there so that way you can watch this replay, okay? All right, so the plagues of Egypt. So this is part 2 of our discussion now. We're going into the plagues of Egypt. First, we talked about studying the Bible, the importance of studying the Bible. Then we talked about Moses and the Israelites being melanated people. Then we talked about Christ being the Passover and the importance of us keeping the feast days. We talked about what leaven was. What does leaven represent? Okay, we talked about that. Now we're going to talk about the plagues of Egypt, okay? Very important in discussion of Passover, okay? So, in the Hebrew account of the book of, this is found in Wikipedia, by the way. If you want the reference, it's in Wikipedia. The book of the Exodus are 10 disasters inflicted on biblical Egypt by the God of Israel, Yahweh, in order to convince the Pharaoh to emancipate or set free the enslaved Israelites, which each of them confronting Pharaoh and one of his Egyptian gods. One of his Egyptian gods. You see that? They serve as signs and wonders, signs and marvels given by the God to answer Pharaoh's taunt that he does not know Yahweh. The Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh. The 10 plagues are recited during the Passover. Okay? So every Passover, we have to have a discussion on how God set our ancestors free from captivity. Does everybody understand that? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. If that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. All right, all praises. So the consensus, let me skip that part because they lie here. So plagues, first plague. The first plague was the water turning to blood. That's found in Exodus chapter 7, verse 14 to 24. We're going to read that soon, but we want to just get you a brief overview of the 10 plagues, and then we're going to give you a breakdown of each as we read on, okay? It says, "This is what the Lord says, by this way will you know that I am the Lord. With the staff that is in my hands, I will strike the water of the Nile, and it will change into blood. The fish in the Nile will die, and the river will stink, and the Egyptians will not be able to drink its water." That's Exodus chapter 7, verse 17 through 18, okay? Yeah, for those of y'all that are fasting, make sure you drink plenty of water and fluids and stuff for the fast, so that way you're prepared for it, okay? All right, so it says, the Bible says that Aaron turned the the Nile River to blood by striking it with his staff. Pharaoh's magicians used their secret arts, meaning sorcery, meaning witchcraft, to also strike the Nile, creating a second layer of blood. In addition to the Nile, all water that was held in reserve, such as jars, basins, was transformed into blood. The Egyptians were forced to dig alongside the bank of the Nile, which still had a pure water. 1 week passed before the plague dissipated. So the first plague was what? Water turning blood red for over a week. All right, that's crazy, y'all. That's amazing, y'all. Second, so as we go on, we're going to go to the parallels, but I want to give you a brief overview in this Wikipedia article, and then we're going to go right into scriptures that prove this stuff. Okay? Yes, starting at sundown today till sundown tomorrow, correct. All right, it says, "This is what the great Lord says." This is now the second plague of frogs found in Exodus chapter 7, verse 25, all the way to chapter 8, verse 15. It says, "This is what the great Lord says. Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will plague your whole country with frogs, The Nile will teem with frogs. They will come up into your palace and into your bedroom and into your bed, into the houses of your officials and all your people, and into your ovens and kneading troughs. The frogs will go up on you and your people and all your officials." This is Exodus chapter 8, verse 1 through 4. The Bible says God ordered frogs to emerge from the Nile, which then jumped around virtually everywhere in Egypt. The magicians attempted to produce frogs from their secret arts, conjuring up a second wave of frogs. Even the private quarters of the Pharaoh was infested with frogs. 3 days passed before all the frogs passed away. The Egyptians had much work to rid themselves of the corpses, and the land stank from frogs long afterwards. When the decision came from Pharaoh about the slaves, the Lord hardened his heart, and Pharaoh decided that the slaves would not go free. So this is going to be paralleling towards many of the things you see going on in the Western countries, where they still decide to mistreat melanated people throughout the world. Okay? They won't let the oppressed go free. So God is going to send plagues to them. As we read on, you're going to see the parallels later on, okay? Now the third plague, lice or gnats. This can be found in Exodus chapter 8, verse 12 through 15. Exodus chapter 8, verse 16 through 19. And the Lord said, stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. When Aaron stretched out his hand with the rod and struck the dust of the ground, lice came upon men and animals. All the dust throughout the land of Egypt became lice. Exodus 8, verse 16, all the way down to 19. So now the next part, number 4. Number 4. Yeah, could you imagine going to sleep and waking up with frogs in your house? That's crazy, right? Imagine you trying to cook food and there's a bunch of frogs in your oven. Imagine you putting makeup on your face and there's frogs on the toilet seat and on the armoire and on the sink. Okay, very important to see this, y'all. Y'all can visualize this in your mind while we're reading it. So the fourth plague, wild animals or flies were impacted. Exodus chapter 18, verse 6. I'm sorry, Exodus chapter 8, verse 16 to 28, all the way to chapter 8, verse 20 to 32. So the fourth plague of Egypt was of creatures capable of harming people and livestock. The Bible tells us that the plagues only came against the Egyptians and did not affect the Israelites, showing you when you're walking in the ways of the Most High will protect you. He will send plagues on the Gentiles and protect his people. Okay? Gentiles just means nations. Pharaoh asked Moses to remove this plague and promised to grant the Israelites their freedom. However, after the plague was gone, Pharaoh hardened his heart and he refused to keep his promise. The same thing happening in America. You're going to see a whole bunch of different plagues happen. Same thing happening in Western cultures like the UK. You'll see a whole bunch of plagues happening, but they refuse to stop mistreating his people. Various sources either use the term wild animals or flies. This is the fifth plague. Pestilence of livestock. This is Exodus chapter 9, verse 1 to 7. It says, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says, let my people go, let my people go. Why do you think your ancestors during slavery were saying, go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell, O Pharaoh, to let my people go? Why do you think black folks were singing that song? Why do you think the slaves were singing Negro spirituals? Maybe because they were the original Hebrews. Maybe because you are the people of the book. Maybe because the Bible applies to you. Just a thought. Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go and turn and continue to hold them back, the hand of the Lord will bring a terrible plague on your livestock in the field, and on your horses and donkeys and camels, and on your cattle and sheep and goats. This is the sixth plague. Shalom to you as well. Number 6, Exodus chapter 9, verse 8 to 12. This is the sixth plague. Exodus chapter 9, verse 8 through 12. The boils. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, take handfuls of soot or ash from the furnace and have Moses toss it into the air, into the heavens, in the presence of Pharaoh. It will become fine dust over the land of Egypt, and festering boils will break out of men and animals throughout the land. That's Exodus chapter 9, verse 8 through 9. Now, number 7, the seventh plague, thunderstorm of hail and fire. Hail and fire. Listen close. It says, this is what the Lord of the Hebrews, the God of Hebrews, say, let my people go so that they may worship me, or this time I will send the plague, full force of my plagues against you and against your officials and your people, so you may know that there is none on earth like me in all the earth. For by now I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with a plague that would have wiped you off the earth. But I have raised you up for this very purpose, that I might show you my power, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. You will set yourself against my people and will not let them go. Therefore, at this time tomorrow, I will send the worst hailstorm that has ever fallen on Egypt from the day it was founded till now. Give an order now to bring your livestock and everything you have in shelter in the field, because the hail will fall on every man and every animal that has not been brought in and still out in the field, and they will be deleted. The Lord sent thunder and hail, and lightning flashed down to the ground. So the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. Hail fell and lightning flashed back and forth. It was the worst storm in all the land of Egypt since it had become a nation. That's Exodus chapter 9, verse 13 through 24. So now the eighth plague, ladies and gentlemen, was the locust. That's Exodus chapter 10, verse 1 to 20. It says, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will bring locusts unto your country. Tomorrow they will cover the face of the ground so that it cannot be seen, that they may devour what little you have left after the hail, including every tree and every growing thing in your fields. They will fill your houses and the houses of all your officials and all the Egyptians, something neither your fathers nor your forefathers have ever seen from the day they settled in this land till now." That's Exodus chapter 10, verse 3 to 6. So the next part is the days of darkness. It's plague number 9. Plague number 9. 3 days and 3 days of darkness. Exodus chapter 10, verse 21 through 20 is what you read about that, okay? It says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward the sky so that darkness will spread over Egypt. Darkness that can be felt." You hear what this says? Darkness that can be felt. So Moses stretched out his hand toward the sky, and total darkness covered all Egypt for 3 days. No one could even see another person nor leave his place for 3 days. Imagine that, y'all. We're going to go into a deeper breakdown. This is just a brief overview. The last one, the 10th plague, can be found in Exodus chapter 11 all the way to Exodus 12 through 36. Okay, Exodus 12 to verse 36. So Exodus chapter 11, verse 1, all the way to Exodus 12, verse 36. Okay, make sure y'all tap the screen. Let's get the likes up. Share the room with at least 10 people. It says, Thus, this is what the Lord says. About midnight, I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will be deleted. From the firstborn, thank you for contributing to the live. From the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on the throne, to the firstborn of the servant girl, who is on the handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle as well. There will be a loud wailing or cry throughout all Egypt, worse than there was ever and ever will be again. So before this final plague, God commands Moses to tell the Israelites to mark the lamb's blood above the doorposts, so that way when the destroying angel of Yahushua comes on the scene, okay, it would pass over them and no one would be touched. Okay. Pharaoh orders the Israelites to leave, taking whatever they want, and asks Moses to bless him in the name of Yahweh. The passage goes on to state that the Passover sacrifice recalls the time when the Lord passed over all the houses. Notice, when the Lord passed over all the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. So that's a brief overview on the Passover, okay? So now, let's go into a more heavy breakdown of this, okay? Because we gave you a brief overview. Now we're going to break down various precepts so you can see what this is really talking about. First, we're going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. We're going to read verse 11. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. Write it in the chat. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. All right, I'm waiting for my moderators to put it in the chat real quick so we can go over it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. Is the audio clear? Put a 1 in the chat if the audio is clear and there's no static. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing well. All right, chapter 14, verse 11. All right, let's read it. Make sure you got a pen and paper when we're going over these scriptures. That way you can go over it again at your leisure. Okay? That's why I'm asking people to write it in the chat, so that way you can go back and write it down in your notebook and then study it, okay? So this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. It says, therefore, upon the idols of the Gentiles, what does the plagues of Egypt represent? Listen close. It says, therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of God they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. Meaning what? The reason why the creator of heaven and earth is going to send visitations on all nations is because every nation on the planet is full of idols. They're worshiping false gods. Christianity, false gods. Islam, false gods. Judaism, false gods. Politics, false gods. Sports, false gods. Education, false gods. Movies, false gods. Music industry, false gods. Every aspect of this society is built and established on idols. Days of the week, false gods. Months of the year, false gods. You've been so Buddhism, that's another one. False gods. Zoroastrianism, false gods. Voodoo, false gods. Hinduism, false gods. Confucianism, false gods. Every aspect of the Gentiles is full of idolatry, and these abominations have been stumbling blocks to the souls of men. Here it is, people can't figure out if they want to follow Christmas with Santa Claus, with reindeer, or if they want to follow Jesus Christ, who's a black man with feet so dark it looked like it burned in a furnace. Here it is, people can't figure out if they want to go march around Ramadan and go to fast and pray over an idol called Ba'Allah, versus whether they want to keep the commandments of the Bible and walk upright. Showing you that God is going to judge the nations just like he judged ancient Egypt. Watch this. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. This is for educational purposes only. Educational purposes only. Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. It says, is that what I want? No, Exodus chapter 12, verse 12. Sorry about that. Exodus chapter 12, verse 12. This is the precept to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. This is the cross-reference. So on your notes, you want to write down Exodus chapter 12, verse 12 as a cross-reference to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. If you have a Bible in front of you, write it down in the Bible. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. Right next to that verse, write Exodus chapter 12, verse 12. It says, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt, and against all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Do y'all see the parallels here? So what we just read in Wisdom of Solomon parallels to what we just read in Exodus 12, verse 12. Okay? All right, so the waters turning blood red. So, do we have the waters turning blood red today, ladies and gentlemen? You better believe it. I'm going to bring forth the evidence to you on this platform that the various things that we read about in the Bible is coming true today. Can you pour it over there, please, so it doesn't spill over here? Or you can pour it right here. Thank you. All right, so here's proof. Y'all see this picture right here? Put a 1 in the chat if you can see this picture right here. This is pictures from Tanzania, which is in Africa, showing you waters turning blood red. So the very plagues of Egypt is happening today, folks. Here's another one. This is a river in Russia. This is a river in Russia where the water is blood red, y'all. You could see the juxtaposition between, you can see the difference between the white snow on the ground and the redness of the river. Put a 2 in the chat if you see this. So the very plagues that God wrote about in the Bible is happening today. So now let's read it. The water's turning blood red. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 7. We're going to read from 4 to 11. Exodus chapter 7. We're going to start at verse 4. It says, "But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto me, that I may lay hold upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments." By great judgments. If you investigate far enough, you'll find out that the people all around the world persecuted the children of Israel, and God is going to deliver him with great judgments. Read about what Russia did to the melanated Hebrews in their land. Because remember, they have archaeology and evidence coming out that Jesus was black, Moses was black. So what happened to the black people that was living in Russia? How did Russia turn from having a whole bunch of black people to a small population of melanated people? That's something you have to investigate. Verse 5, "And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them." Verse 6, "And Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded them, so did they. And Moses was 80 years old," meaning what, 80? Yeah? 4 times 20? That's 80, right? Yep. "And Aaron 83, so he's 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, Show a miracle, for then thou shalt say unto Aaron, Take thy rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went unto Pharaoh, and did so as the Lord commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent." Verse 11, "Then Pharaoh also called his wise men and the sorcerers. Now the magicians of Egypt, they also did like manner with their enchantments." Meaning what? The same thing that these Egyptians have. You know, America, they have that technology. They have that technology, and they're putting it right before your eyes, and you don't even realize it. You call it entertainment. You call it TV. The sorcery you watch, yeah, tell a lie vision, because every time you watch it, it tells a lie. The CGI, the magicians, they turn your eyes to see things that are not there, just like they did in ancient Egypt. There's nothing new under the sun, folks. The same technology they had back then, they have today. Back then, they called it magic. Today, you call it technology. Back then, they called it witchcraft. Today, you call it technology. Let's read on. We're going to jump down now to Exodus chapter 7, verse 17 through 25. Exodus chapter 7, verse 17 through 25. So you're looking right now at a river in Russia that has blood. So let's go to it. Exodus chapter 7. Let's start at verse 17. We're We're going to read from 17 to 25. It says, Thus saith the Lord, In this thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the river. So the same thing we're reading about, you see it right now happening. This is the evidence that the Bible is a true book. The same thing written back then is happening today in our lifetime. And the fish that is in the river shall be deleted, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying unto Aaron, Take thy rod, and stretch out thy hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, and upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all the pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. Meaning, it don't matter if you put it in a bucket, the water would turn blood red. It don't matter if you took it and stored it in your tub, the water would turn blood red. And Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded, and he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh, meaning right in front of your face, Pharaoh, and in the sight of his servants. And all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them. So this was a real plague that God was doing, and the Egyptians, they were just putting like what you call food coloring into the water, right? That's what was going on. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he set his heart to this also. And all the Egyptians digged round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled after that the Lord had smitten the river. Imagine, y'all, 7 whole entire days. 7 whole entire days where the waters were blood red. So I'm showing you the proof in this day and age where waters, these are screenshots that I took from various TikTok videos showing you the waters of various rivers, lakes, and oceans turning blood red. Turning blood red. The Bible is a true book. Take a moment to share the live with at least 10 people. If you think this information is important, maybe somebody is going to learn today. You're going to learn today that the Bible is a true book. The very things that we're reading about in the Bible is happening today. You can see the correlation between this ocean front right here on this picture, where the waves are crashing on the sand. The sand is being discolored from white sandy beaches to orange-like color because of the redness of the ocean, and you can see the ocean front with the foliage and trees right to the far right. The Bible is a true book, y'all. The Bible is a true book. Here's the other one with Russia. Here's the other one with Russia. Here's the ocean. Here's people that took fish out of the ocean, and the fish that were white fish turned red because of the bloody waters. These people are so lost, they tried to sprinkle salt and paint on it to repaint it to white. The Bible is a true book, y'all. The Bible is a true book. So now, let's continue with this discussion. So we just stopped at Exodus chapter 17, verse 15, right? Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. We're going to read verse 10 through, it's buffering. You see, every time we go through this pertinent information, that's when all of a sudden They try to make the internet stop working. All of a sudden, my internet is glitching. My internet was working fine, and now all of a sudden, it's glitching. Put a 1 in the chat if the audio and visual is working. Put a 1 in the chat if everything is working clear. It's okay for you? Okay. All right. If you're having any issues with the live, exit the live stream and come back. If you're having any issues with the live, exit the live stream and come back, okay? Hopefully there's no glitch. All right. So let's continue. We're going to go to 2nd Esdras chapter 15. 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha chapter 15. We're going to read verse 10 through 13. 2nd Esdras chapter 15. We're going to read verse 10 through 15. It says, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt." So now remember, the Israelites came out of Egypt already. So this is going into what? The Babylonian captivity, the Grecian captivity, the captivities that happen in Asia, the captivities that happen in Africa, the captivities that happen under Arabia, the captivities that happen under Europa, the captivities that happen under America. This is symbolic, metaphoric language talking about God sending judgments on oppression, on oppressors, okay? Verse 11, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretch out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before." This is the proof. This is the proof that it's not talking about ancient Egypt back then, but it's talking about modern spiritual Egypt, a land of oppression. Exodus chapter 20 verse 2, "I'm the Lord thy God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." So spiritually speaking, America is spiritual Egypt. Europe is spiritual Egypt. Asia is spiritual Egypt. Africa is spiritual Egypt. That's going into where our people were brought into captivity. Listen close. It says, "I will stretch out my arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before." As before, meaning just like before, like we're reading in Exodus, this was during the Babylonian captivity. So God will send plagues as a visitation to the Gentiles. Watch this. "As before, and would destroy all the land thereof." Is physical Egypt right now, modern Egypt where people are living, is it destroyed? No. So what's that going into? That's going into spiritual plagues happening on the land of oppressors. Watch this, verse 12. "Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God shall bring upon it." The word "shall" means will bring. That's a future prophecy. I mean, it hasn't taken place yet. Meaning what we read in Exodus took place only in the physical landmass. What we're reading here in 2nd Esdras is a future prophecy. And you see the picture of the future prophecy right on the screen. "Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God shall bring upon it." Verse 13, "They shall till the ground, they that till the ground shall mourn." Meaning the crops will be impacted by these things. "For their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation." Watch this. "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." Do you see how this is not talking about just physical Egypt? It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword," that's war, "and destruction draws nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another people, and swords in their hands." Y'all see that? So while these global plagues are taking place, God is sending conflicts amongst the people. From there, let's go to Revelation chapter 11, verse 6. From there, let's go to Revelation chapter 11, verse 6. Revelation 11, verse 6, it says, "These have power," talking about the two witnesses of God, the two main big huge prophets. These have power to shut heaven that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. Y'all see that? So the very thing that we're reading about is happening today. The very thing that we're reading about is happening today. Some people are going to be like, oh, forefront, I'm scared. There's no reason to be scared. If you're walking in the ways of righteousness, there's no need to be afraid. If you're walking in the ways of righteousness, there's no reason to be scared. We're seeing the various things that we're reading about in the Bible. This one, for example, is in Russia. This one, for example, is in Tanzania. This one, for example, is in Lebanon. Okay? These are in various places. It happened in Lebanon. It happened in the land of Israel. It happened in Egypt in the River Nile. It happened in Tanzania in Africa. It happened in Russia. It happened in Jamaica. It happened in Texas. The waters all over the world are turning to blood. Watch this. Let's go to, and this is a righteous thing. This is the evidence for you, ladies and gentlemen, that the Bible is a true book, that God is real. That God is real. We should not, now is not the time to be an atheist, folks. Now is not the time to say, oh, I'm just going to sit and, play around with God. No, read your Bible, study your Bible, apply your Bible. Okay? Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. We're going to read from verse 4 all the way to verse 7. From 4 to 7. It says, and the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art, and was, and shall be, because thou hast judged thus. Meaning what? It's a righteous thing for God to jack up these nations for the evils they have done. Why? Verse 6, For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. You see that? That's showing you divine retribution in the Bible has been predicted centuries before it took place, and we see the evidences of these biblical-based plagues happening today. Your prognosticators will call it climate change. Your witches and warlocks will say that's Mother Nature. But when in the history of mankind has it ever been documented besides the last 20, 30 years? Within the last several years is where you've seen this taking place. These plagues are nothing to play with. Let's go back. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. We're going to read verse 46 to 49. 2nd Ezra chapter 15. We're going to read verse 46 to 49. Make sure you write this down. Make sure you study this. 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Let's start at verse 46. You see why we call this the Forefront Radio? When have you ever had a Bible study with your pastor bringing this out? Never. 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 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Let's start at verse 46. It says, And thou, Asia, thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Woe be unto you, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her. Meaning what? The so-called Chinese, they want to live just like Babylon, just like America. And hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers. Meaning what? All the nations pattern themselves after America. If America says you need to dress up with blonde hair, blue eyes, everybody's going to color their hair blonde and put their eyes green to look like those that have colonized the planet. That's why you ask Asians in videos on TikTok, if you could change your culture and be any culture, they say, I want to be like white people. That's what they say. But melanated people, the children of Israel, they say, no, I love being black. I love being me. I don't care what we gone through. I love being me. Watch this. It says, verse 48. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith God, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and deletion. Y'all see that? So all the other nations of the earth want to pattern themselves after Babylon the Great. Make America great again. We're going to jump down to verse 55 to 63. We're going to jump down to verse 55 to 63. Watch this. It says, the reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom. Meaning what? God is going to take all the plagues and put it right to your chest, right in front of your face. Therefore shalt thou receive recompense, meaning payback for all the evils that were done on the earth. Meaning what? There's no statute of limitations with human rights violations according to God. So anybody that's been on the earth, that's been doing evil, you're seeing the judgments of it right on the screen. You're seeing the judgments of it with the waters turning red. Verse 56, like as thou hast done unto my chosen, meaning what? Just as you enslave melanated people all over the world, saith the Lord, even so shall God do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. Thy children also shall be deleted of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword, meaning war is coming to America. Thy cities shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. Verse 58. They that be in thy mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for very hunger and bread, and thirst of water. You see what's going to happen in the future, y'all? You see what's going to happen in the future? I'm trying to warn people in advance of what's going to happen. People are going to result to cannibalism. People are going to result to being like zombies. Those movies that they show you of zombies, they're telling you what's going to happen to these Roman nations. So I recommend to you, get right with the Creator now, so that way you can be protected in that day. Okay? It says, verse 59, thou as unhappy shall come through the sea and receive plagues again. Meaning what? God is going to do it over and over and over. They're not going to get away. He's going to remind them by sending the plagues in a repetitive motion. Verse 60, it says, and in the passage they shall rush on the idol city, and shall destroy some portion of thy land, and consume part of thy glory, and shall return to Babylon that was destroyed. And thou shalt be cast down by them as stubble, and they shall be unto thee as fire. Read about that in the book of Obadiah. And shall consume thee, and thy cities, thy land, and thy mountains, all thy woods, and thy fruitful trees shall they burn up with fire. That's going into thermonuclear energy, y'all. Thy children shall they carry away captive, and look, what thou hast, they shall spoil it, and mar the beauty of thy face. Y'all see what's going to happen to Babylon the Great? Y'all see what's going to happen to Babylon the Great? These are judgments in the Bible, folks. These are in the writings they took out called the Apocrypha, the hidden books. We're reading 1st and 2nd Esdras. That's Ezra in the Old Testament. Yes, correct. It's about to go down. It's about to go down. Let's go to the next chapter now. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16. We're going to read verse 1 to 5. 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 1 to 5. It says, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. So hold on, wait a minute. Iraq is already in Asia, so why is it saying Babylon and Asia? This is going into Babylon the Great. This is going into oppressors that oppressed God's real people. Woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair. Bewail your children and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. A sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? Meaning what? World War III. A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? That's ICBMs. Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? Y'all see that? Let's jump down. We're going to go to 2nd Ezra chapter 16. We're going to read verse 18 to 20. 18 to 20. 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 18 to 20. It says, "The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great deletion, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear." Meaning what? The governments of the world are all going to be fearful when these things happen. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Meaning what? Ezra is going to be brought back to life and prophesy to the people when these things are taking place. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Meaning what? These nations on the earth, these Gentilic nations, will see the various plagues happening on the earth, and they're not going to discontinue their lying, their invading one another land, their wars, their conflicts, stealing, their adulteries, their witchcraft, their sword. They're not going to change. This is why when I tell you that the Bible is only for the Israelites, I'm not making it up, because the remnant of our people, they're going to change. But these Gentilic nations, they do not care. They're going to say, so what? So what the water's turning blood red, just like the Bible say? I don't care. Good luck. They're going to harden their heart, just like Pharaoh hardened his heart when he saw disaster happening in his country and he refused to change. Look at C-19. People were locked up in their house for 2 years. They came out and they were worse. They started doing worse. Mass pew went up. Domestic V went up. People mistreating each other went up. Trafficking went up. They're going to say, oh no, it's climate change. This is normal. That's not normal. Water's turning blood red all over the world. That's not normal. That's not normal. Think about it, y'all. I took this off of screenshots on TikTok. Now you see why they want to take off TikTok? Now you see why they want to ban TikTok? This is Russia in the middle of the winter having an entire river that's blood red. Blood red. Tap the screen, let's get the likes up. You telling me your Christian pastor is going over this? No. You telling me that your imam in Islam is going over this? No. You're telling me that the folks in Judaism are going over this? No. Who's only bringing this out? The Israelites. The Israelites. The Israelites. The people of God. The Forefront Radio and other Hebrews are bringing this information out for you to know the truth. Why? Because the Bible says you're going to know the truth, and the truth is going to make you free. Free from the lies of Christianity. Free from the lies of politics. Free from the lies of the educational system. Free from the lies of atheistic ideology. How can you be an atheist when you read in the Bible about plagues and the water's turning blood red and see it right before your eyes? But the people that are hypocrites, they're gonna say, no, so what? It happens all the time. We'll call it red tide. We'll call it a new name that nobody ever heard before. You never heard about red tide in the 1500s, 1400s, 1300s, 900 AD. But now, mysteriously, 2024, they got a name for it. They got a name for it. Oh, we call it red tide. Okay. That's what they call it. That's what your prognosticators, your witches, your warlocks, your scientists call it. But this is in the Bible. Watch this. Let's go to Psalms chapter 78. Psalms chapter 78. Yeah, they said, oh, they sprinkle candy cane in the water. I like that. That's funny, sis. Psalms chapter 78, we're going to read verse 44 and 45. Psalms chapter 78, verse 44 and 45. It says, and had turned their rivers into blood, and their floods that they could not drink. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them. So the same plagues that happened in ancient Egypt is the same thing happening today. So should we consider maybe repenting, maybe saying to God, you know what, forgive me of all my sins. Teach me to keep your commandments. Let me have faith in the black Messiah. I believe now that Jesus is a black man according to the Bible. I'm going to put away all my bias. I'm going to put away all the lies I thought in church, all the things that I learned in church. I'm going to start over from scratch. I'm going to read the Bible again from a Hebrew perspective, and now I'm going to do what the Bible says. Keep your commandments and prepare for your kingdom, because after these judgments take place, I want to make it into the kingdom of Israel, into the kingdom of God, into the kingdom of heaven, the new holy Jerusalem, made from God and not man. And had turned their rivers into blood, and their floods that they could not drink. Imagine for an entire week. You turn on your faucet, and the water is pouring out red. You go to take a shower, and the waters are coming out red. You go to the river, and the waters are completely... this is going to happen more frequently. Right, exactly. Hell no, I ain't swimming in that. I ain't swimming in that. I ain't bathing in that. You better get some of that little Aeron spray and stuff like that they spray in the body. You better get some alcohol wipes, some baby wipes, something. Because when this goes down, you want to be safe. Shalom to you, PJ. Hope you're doing well. You understand? Somebody said this isn't even happening at all. What do you mean? More frequently. Let me help you understand this. Maybe you just don't understand the Bible, but when God sends plagues, he sends it in one instance and in another instance. The picture that you're seeing right here on the screen is a screenshot of a drone that flew over Russia in 2023. The images that we're showing you depicting the waters turning blood red are in different places all over the planet, such as Lebanon, such as Israel, such as the River Nile in Egypt, such as Tanzania, such as Texas. Okay, very obviously AI images. Your mama is AI. How about that? Your mama is AI. There's people on this world, folks, that are just NPCs. All I got to do is just send you the book on it forever. Thank you, Marie. We appreciate you. You want to live in La La Land like everybody else. Continue. Mutant land. Mute. Mutant. We mute mutant land. Here it is. We're showing you evidence, and you say, that's not real. That's AI generated. Father in heaven, I pray that the day will come that Marie will open the faucet and water will come out of her faucet blood red. Then she can shut her big fat trap. Show it to her, Father. I'm making the prayer today, Holy Father, that you answer this prayer so that way she could see the proof of the Bible for herself, and maybe she'll repent. Maybe her relatives will repent. Maybe her family will say, God is real. I need to get my life right. When she sees it for herself. Father, show her that you are real. Father, show her that you are real. Because I'm not doing this for my own attention and for my own glory. I'm trying to bring the glory to you, Father. So I pray, Father, this day that you please, for our ancestors' sake, answer the prayer, Father. Please show Marie and all the other scoffers that your Bible is a true book. Please show her. Please save her from Eurocentric delusionalism. What you call a red algae, folks, never occurred 100 years ago. They did not have a name for it over 200 years ago. They did not have a name for it over 500 years ago. It's happening in our era, in our lifetime, you big dummy. All right, let's go to a Wikipedia article. What was the false god that the Egyptians worshipped that was impacted? And we can see that this is true. Okay? What god? Nope. It's not Ra, it's not Baal. The god is called Sobek. The god is called nope, it's not the golden calf. The golden calf is Baltis or Baala. That's the heifer god. That's Hathor. So the god is called Sobek, the ancient Egyptian deity. So now we're going to go to Wikipedia. We're going to show you the god that was plagued, that is called the crocodile god, or the West African alligator, which represents the power of Pharaoh, which represents fertility, which represents military powder. He was fused with the deity known as Horus, which is going into sun worship, which is going into Sunday worship, aka the Christian church. Okay, so now we're going to read on Wikipedia in regards to the deity known as Sobek. You said it's freezing. Try to exit the live and come back. If you're having any issues, try to exit the live and come back. Okay? Put a 1 in the chat if everything is clear. Make sure you tap the screen. Let's get the likes up to at least 100K, please. No issues on your end? Okay. All right, so it probably might just be your internet, Sister Sephora. So try to exit the live and come back, please. All right. Sobek, also called Sebek or Sabki, was an ancient Egyptian deity with a complex and elastic history and nature. He is associated with the Nile crocodile or the West African crocodile and is represented either in its form as a human with a crocodile head. Okay? Sobek was associated with the pharaonic power, meaning the kings of Pharaoh of Egypt, fertility, and military prowess, but served additionally as the protective deity with apotropaic qualities. Apotropaic qualities, invoked especially for protection against the dangers presented by the Nile. So what was Moses and Aaron doing? They plagued the Nile River, and the Nile River was what turned blood red, right? And we see the same thing happening today in our lifetime where the waters are turning blood red. So now imagine right now in 2024, people are still looking to give glory to their action figures instead of the God of heaven. Meaning what? They rather believe in Aquaman, right? They'll rather go watch Marvel characters of Aquaman, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, not realizing those are the same pagan gods of the Greeks, the same pagan gods of the Romans, the same pagan gods of the Egyptians, the same pagan gods of America, the same pagan gods of Babylon, Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Hermes, The Flash, Diana, Sobek, Isis, Horus. They say, oh, these are just movies. But you don't realize that you are worshiping them. When you dress up your little kids as Batman and Superman for Halloween, that's an act of worship. When you're buying candy and action figures, those are idols. Those are idols. You understand? Those are gods. Just because they renamed it to Superman does not mean it's not idolatry. Just because they renamed Zeus to Shazam, it doesn't mean it's not idolatry. Just because they rename Ra to Superman, the sun god, how does Superman get his powers? Through the sun. Just because they rename Sobek, the god of the rivers and military prowess, to Aquaman, because Aquaman was a man of military prowess. Aquaman gathered all the rivers, all the ocean life to fight in war when you watch these various movies. Horus is the sun god in ancient Egypt, and the sun god today is Superman. That's why people worship on Sunday. They worship in the sun and they don't even know it. They're worshiping the sun and they don't even know it. Quick facts. Sobek, who has the head of an alligator, is often depicted with the head of an alligator and a crown composed of ram horns and a sun disk, aka sun worship, and feathered plumes. The major cult center associated with him was called Fayum, and they literally had a city called Crocodilopolis. You know, the crocodile? Polis, going into policies or polity, group of people. They had a whole entire city called Crocodilopolis. Then it says there's another area called Ombo. That was the major cult associated with it, okay? So now in the Batman and Spider-Man series, you have Killer Croc. Do you not? Do you not have a man with the head of an alligator and the body of a man? I'm telling you, the things that they had in the past is still going on today. In the Spider-Man show, you had that lizard man, right? You had that lizard man, right? That man that was first a man and then turned into a crocodile lizard, and his goal was to turn all the human beings to crocodiles. Y'all don't remember that? In the Spider-Man movies? Florida Gator University. So in the same way, the children of Israel were put into the river Nile to be destroyed by alligators is the same parallel during captivity in America, where they were using the children of Israel as gator bait. Hello, same people. Hello, same people. So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. We're going to read verse 1 to 8. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. We're going to read verse 1 to 8. Write it in the chat, moderators, please. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11, verse 1 to 8. It says, "She prospered in their works," talking about wisdom, "in the hand of the holy prophet. They went through the wilderness that was not inhabited, and pitched their tents in places where there lay no way. They stood against their enemies, and were avenged of their adversaries. When they were thirsty, they called upon thee, and water was given them out of the flinty rock." This is going into the story that you read in the Bible of our ancestors traveling out of Egypt and God helping them when they were in adversity. "For by what things their enemies were punished, by the same they in their need were benefited. For instead of the perpetual running river troubled with foul blood, for a manifest correction or reproof of that commandment whereby the infants were slain, thou gavest unto them abundance of water, by means of which they hope not for, declaring by that thirst then how thou hast punished their adversaries." You see that? So the same way the ancient Egyptians threw the babies in the water to try to delete them, God said, okay, I'm going to turn your rivers into blood. That way you can't even drink any water. The same thing that happened where countless children of Israel, melanated people, were destroyed by rivers of water. Think about the slave ships that came across from Africa to the Americas, and many of our ancestors were thrown into the oceans. God said the same parallel will happen in these last days. You're going to have people groups that will not have access to water. Ask about Flint, Michigan. Ask about Jackson, Mississippi. Inquire, research these things. Ask the people in Gaza right now who don't have water and suffering from thirst. Why? The Arabs were a part of the slave trade. The Ishmaelites were a part of the slave trade. The Europeans that descend from the Yiddish groups, they were a part of the slave trade. Ask about the slave trade in South America. Why Suriname got a bunch of people that were enslaved by the You Wish with the letter J. The small hats with the blue and white flags. So you're going to see in your lifetime the same thing that we're reading about in the Bible occurring before your eyes. Please tap the screen. Let's get the likes up to at least 70K. So the gods of the Gentiles are being judged today. There's a visitation on these nations because they have committed so much wickedness on the earth that God says, you know what? I'm going to have to turn the waters blood red. I'm going to have to send plagues on all these nations. This is why I don't understand why people are trying to save the nations when the nations are not going to change. You know who's going to change? The remnant of the Israelites. A small pocket of people that are going to say, I'm going to keep the commandments. I'm going to walk upright. I'm going to do what God says. And a small remnant out of the Gentiles, they're probably changed too. But a majority of them, they're not. A majority of them, they're going to read this Bible and they're going to say, I don't care. It just doesn't matter. Jesus being black, it just doesn't matter. Keeping the commandments, it just doesn't matter. Walking in the ways of the Most High, it just doesn't matter. And they'll call themselves followers of Christ. They're going to call themselves believers and not do commandment 1. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 11. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation, because in the creature of God they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. Meaning what? They rather watch the Florida Gators play football and sing and dance and chant and spend their money and sacrifice to their idols. What do you think a halftime show is? It's an act of worship. So they would rather bow down to the Florida Gator on Saturdays and Sundays than go and read their Bible and honor the God of creation. They would rather go pay $20, that's your tithe and offering, to the gods of Hollywood and watch Superman fight against the alligator god. Right? Watch Spider-Man fight against Dr. Octopus. Watch the Jedi fight against the resistance against the Empire, right? But yet and still, they will not change. There's a visitation on these Gentiles, folks. Either you get the Bible or you don't. This is a visitation. This is a visitation. This is a visitation. This is a visitation. All of these things are prophesied in the Bible. The Bible. And that's just the first plague of the Bible, y'all. That's just the first plague of the Bible. We didn't even break down all the other ones. That's just the first. So y'all, I'm going to have to do a part 2 because we've been on this at least well over maybe 2-3 hours. And I know how people are. As soon as they get to that 2-hour mark, it's like a movie. They start falling asleep. They're like, I'm trying to pay attention forefront, but I can't. So I'm going to spare you. We're going to have a part 2 tomorrow. Make sure you join and follow the TikTok here on this platform if you haven't. If you haven't subscribed to the Forefront Radio, make sure you do so. Because this is my third or fourth account. Already, the nations and powers that be want to try to block this information. They have already banned my previous accounts. Okay? So if you're not following this account, I recommend, this is just a recommendation, you're going to do what you want to do anyway. I recommend you follow this account, go to my profile, click on the Popple link. There's a link to all my social media, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Follow our YouTube channels. We have 2 YouTube channels, the Forefront Radio 1 and the Forefront Radio 2. Make sure you join on there and listen to it. We're going to replay this podcast episode on the Forefront Radio 2 on YouTube. We're going to go over part 2 tomorrow, most high willing. Okay? Most high willing, we're going to go to part 2 and we're going to cover the rest of the 7 last plagues of Egypt. And I'm going to show you the parallels between the plagues of Egypt and those various things happening today in our time period, folks. Okay? My sincere hope and desire is not to convert you to a religion, but that you will embrace Hebraic culture and start living as the Bible says. Be born again. The Bible is our constitution. The Bible is our photo album. The Bible is our way of life, not a religion. A religion you can pick up and go. But the Bible tells you what to eat, what to wear, how to conduct yourselves, your civil law, your moral law, your dietary law, your festival days, your holidays. This is a way of life. And I encourage you now to convert your spirit to enter in the kingdom of Christ. Because on the gates of the kingdom are the names of the VIP list, and it is the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. You're not going to get in as a Gentile. You're not going to get in as Baptist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, Islam, Judaism. You're not going to get in like that. The way to make it into the kingdom of heaven and earth is to walk in the ways of the Creator, folks. I really hope that this session was encouraging for you. Okay, I really hope and sincerely desire that this was encouraging for you, and I hope that you walk in the ways of the Most High. We're going to play a last song to conclude. While we're playing that song, please do me a favor. Tap the screen to get the likes up. Let's go to at least 70K. And then I'm going to play this last song, and then we'll end the live for now. Thank you so much for your participation. I appreciate all the moderators that have done a wonderful and excellent job. I appreciate all the contributors that have donated to our efforts. We're here in Africa with the sole mission of teaching Bible history to the diaspora in the continent of Africa. So all those that have contributed through either gifts or cash apps, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Gotta keep these laws. Gotta keep these laws. Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, rise up and teach all the people. Tell them that this is your wisdom in the sight of the heathen. And the Lord gave 2 tablets, right laws to govern the people. But they were so damn evil, rebellious, stiff-necked people. captivity, aka ship slavery. We would not hearken, no, we would not hear. We would not listen, no, we would not fear. We was the righteous and we was the kings. We was the priests, listen to clear. All the wicked lying, all the fornication, all the selling, hating, all the baby making, all the idolatries, all the scenes there, bullshits, all the Baals and Molochs and sacrifices to devils. Wake up, let's go home. Righteous in my zone. 12 tribes for the kingdom. It's coming, won't be long.
And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the sons of Israel, repent of all your sins, cause the kingdom is here within. And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the sons of Israel, repent of all your sins, cause the kingdom is here within.
And the Lord said to Moses, put off them shoes from your feet. This holy ground's where you stepping. No need your corner suggestions. Raise up my people in Egypt. Break about that evil from Egypt. Tell them remember my Sabbath. You know they stiff neck inside it. That's why the commandments in Exodus and again in Deuteronomy. That's why we border the fringes, cause we forgetful of people. Get slain for picking up sticks. Nowadays we picking up shit. Forget thou should not commit adultery. It was written in bricks. It's like a hit in the mist. I mean you get what you give. Keep these commandments and live. Nowadays we minister hate like we forgot the wages of sin. We prophesy to the wind. Pray that it bring them back in. I know that iron sharpen the iron, but I don't know nothing about 10.
And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the sons of Israel, repent of all your sins, cause the kingdom is here within. And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the sons of Israel, repent of all your sins, cause the kingdom is here within.
The Lord said to Moses, it's time my people were free. Give them the laws they should follow and let them know it's from me. If they keep all my laws, they be the top of the tree. But if they turn from my ways, I give them captivity. And God said to Moses, teach all my laws to my chosen. Put the women in dresses and have the men put on hosen. When the new moon's approaching, make sure the trumpets are blowing. Tell the women about children to help my people keep growing. And God said to Moses, when you see sin, take a notice. Remind them I saved them from all the curses and locusts. Separate from the nations so they can clearly have focus. They serve other gods and all their science is bogus. Teach them they should not steal, they have my people be roguish. They have to pay for their sin, have them agree that they notice. If they turn from my laws, their every effort is hopeless. There is only one God and that's a clear diagnosis. And God said to Moses, accept no witches' hypnosis. To go into the world would be considered atrocious. Have my women dress modest and keep them soft as a lotus, with the knowledge of wise men and the beauty of roses.
Shalom, Israel. We fear no one.
Have no fear, for the Most High is with me. For the Most High is with me. Have no fear, for the Most High is with me. The Spirit of the Lord is here. The Spirit of the Lord is here. Have no fear. The Spirit of the Lord is here. The Spirit of the Lord is here. No more proverbs or bywords. The Lord said that I learned through precepts, the Bible. The power in thy word, the fire is near. No spirit of fear, no more crying tears, no more dying here. We fighting for truth, counting the cost. My people discovered they heritage lost. Our heritage is keeping the laws. Awaken the lions, the kingdom in store. We fear no one, we chosen by blood. Our people forgot what royalty was. A prince of the Lord, a nation restored. We built building the kingdom with Christ as our Lord. The Spirit of the Lord is here. The Spirit of the Lord is here. Have no fear. The Spirit of the Lord is here. 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 Have no fear. The Spirit of the Lord is here. The Spirit of the Lord is here.
Been killed for centuries, ain't no fear in me. I feel the Lord set the part cause of iniquity. The Bible's not religious, it's a history. The laws are the truth makes you free. I feel like Daniel in the lion's den. Or we scared with the war against the lion man. Or Shadrach them in the frying pan. Or maybe David when he had to fight the giant man. Or Moses when he spoke against the tyrant man. Or when Moses told the Red Sea to take a stand. I'm not Jeremiah, not the crying man. I stand like Kaepernick during the hiring ban.
The Spirit of the Lord is here. The Spirit of the Lord is here. Have no fear. The Spirit of the Lord is here. 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 Have no fear. The Spirit of the Lord is here. The Spirit of the Lord is here.
Have no fear lest you have no hope. Power come from the Most High God and Son. Your will be done. Lord, know we need you, God. Prepare for temptation and much tribulations, y'all. But I believe it ain't easy. Believe me, home. Wake up out of sleep to bring our people home. Surrounded by peaceful men that'll teach us some. Dissecting the scriptures daily like the preacher home. Made haste to these laws like the preacher dad. Happy feast of dedication, bring our temple back. Lion of Judah, war ready like a troop brigade. Lion of Judah, war ready like a troop brigade.
Shalom, Israel. We fear no one.
Have no fear.
Be not afraid of them. Read on. For the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
So he would always remind us, God delivered you from the hands of the Egyptians, which the Egyptians was the greatest kingdom on the earth. I can deliver you from anything. That's how you gotta wake up. That's how you gotta condition yourself. That's how you gotta think. The Most High don't like fear. Shalom, Israel.